Okay, sweet. We are now officially recording. Okay, are we ready? Hello, and welcome to Spooky Sips, where we put our love of horror movies into a podcast and sip some spirits along the way. I'm one of your hosts, Yvette, and I'm here with my co-hosts, Laura and Brianna.
Hello.
Hey. All right, so this episode is extra special because the three of us are together.
Yes, we
Reunited,
are.
baby.
We decided to come up to Portland to see Yvette, and that is where we decided to go see Friday the 13th on Saturday the 14th.
Yeah, we
We're
did.
a day late, but it's fine.
We missed the tickets. It's fine. It's not a big deal.
Fine. Okay. So for those of you that haven't watched it, Friday the 13th is filmed in 1980 and is just the classic quintessential slasher movie.
Mm-hmm.
Essentially what happens is despite Crystal Lake's history of murder, it does not deter these teens from going up there to be camp counselors, even though there's a lot of gruesome stories that have been told.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what happens throughout this movie, is we get to see their time at Camp Crystal Lake.
Yes.
Yes. So today we've been sipping on a couple different things, but we're going to
Lots
start
of
with what we're sipping on right now. And today we have what looks like a very interesting creation.
And by that she means disgusting.
I'm so excited.
Brianna and special guest Matt, who helped create this cocktail. We haven't tried this yet, but
Nope.
before we take our first sip, would you like to describe to us what we are about to take in, and maybe describe how you decided to serve it as
Yeah.
well?
not just what, but also the why.
The why.
So, I do feel some responsibility about what I've put in front of you, so I'm going to explain that a little bit. Well, Friday the 13th takes place at camp. When you think of camp, you think of campfires. When you think of campfires, you think of s'mores. So this is my take on a s'mores martini.
Okay.
Now, we didn't really have all the ingredients to do something like that, so there are ingredients in here, some of which are expired, some of which are not. I wasn't really able to roast a marshmallow, but I was able to sort of
We had
gelatinize one.
We had a lighter.
Yeah, I tried to use
And
a lighter. but-
microwave.
Yeah, the microwave kind of worked. But anyway, I think you should just, without further ado, I think we should just try it. and see how it
I
is.
say let's all
Did you-
cheers.
Did you already get a picture of it?
Oh yes.
All right.
Oh yes.
Great.
Oh,
So
All right,
cheers.
cheers.
And good luck, everyone.
Cheers and good luck.
Oh, that is so bad.
First impressions.
I'm getting a lot.
Oh, I
So the-
can't.
No,
I don't think
Why
I
does
can
it
do
taste like cold medicine?
It's giving when you first drink it. I particularly like the goo mixed with the crumble
Uh-huh.
texture,
Mhm.
Okay, there's
of
a
the-
graham cracker crust.
Yeah, there's
Oh yeah, there's a
graham
graham cracker crust.
which is
Yeah.
stuck to the rim of the cocktail by I'm assuming just like microwaved candy bar. Yep.
Yeah, we didn't have Hershey's chocolate syrup, so this is a microwaved bar of Hershey's chocolate.
Okay, perfect.
And then it appears as though it would be
served with a
a chocolate liquid,
Well,
but it tastes.
Yes.
yeah.
You guys, I'm trying to just get a piece of the marshmallow, and it's so fused to the glass.
okay, in my
It's
defense,
also the marshmallow is really hardened.
Oh, it is. Oh,
Since
okay.
the
You guys,
2
look,
minutes ago
I can't even get it.
when you guys made
In-
this drink.
in my defense, I made this like 2 minutes ago. I can't be expected to have the shelf life be more than a couple minutes.
Oh my
so
god!
It would have been
the
good
worst thing I've
30 seconds
ever.
ago.
And the
You want it to taste like chocolate because it looks like chocolate, but it tastes like okay.
Cold
hold on.
medicine.
Mhm.
I
No.
can't. I'm not doing it.
Now, the both of you have yet to describe what is in this.
Oh,
Oh yeah,
right.
please tell us the
Well,
ingredients.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that it tastes as bad because so it's the creme de cacao. It's like a chocolate liqueur.
Liqueur.
Mhm.
A whipped cream vodka.
Yes.
For marshmallow.
Okay.
And then I believe 2-year-old expired Bailey's cream.
Yes, there's
That's
also
not
Bailey's.
bad.
Right? Like, why does it taste so
I
bad?
don't know why it tastes like this. I'm actually kind of puzzled by that.
So you last minute topped it off with some whipped cream.
Yeah,
and
it's really separating.
what's happening to the
I don't really
whipped
know.
cream?
Yeah, if you look at it, the whipped cream is gelatinizing.
It's like curling.
Wait, wait, you guys, has anyone tried the marshmallow?
yes.
Oh, yes.
It's like a
I just-
rock.
No, but I just tried. It's crunchy.
Yep,
Yes.
it is very crunchy.
How did you get a marshmallow to be
I don't know.
I don't know.
How you prepared this marshmallow.
I
Well, you're
can't. I'm
welcome.
done. Well, that was great, guys.
That
Thank
was
you.
really nice.
Thank you.
I will say, I do love the rim. The chocolate rim with
Yes.
the graham cracker crumbles is
Mhm.
delightful.
Yes.
And if
Yeah.
it was a decent cocktail, I think you'd have a winner.
Yeah.
Mhm.
No, I'm gonna drink it. I mean, I'm not.
I mean,
I'm
yeah.
not.
I am not.
I'm not.
Oh man,
I'm
Well, I'm not
sorry.
with you with that.
that's
Perfect. Always
thank
good to
you.
hear that the creators of your cocktail are resistant
Yeah, we're done
Mhm.
here.
to having any of it.
We are done
That'd be
here.
great.
So Spooky Sippers, also Yvette and I, and Brianna, but Brianna's was not quite as strong, have been taking some shots.
Yes, we've been drinking
tonight. We've been drinking
Yeah.
tonight, so maybe we're just a little.
And honestly, though,
Yeah.
that should have helped this.
Yes, that
drink.
should have made this
Yeah.
easier.
Drinks usually taste better
Exactly.
later in the night, and that really makes me question.
Every time I go,
No,
to
I'm,
take a
I
drink,
really, I
think
can't
All
do
right,
it.
Really makes me.
I think it will make me sick.
Mhm.
the presentation was delightful.
Yes,
and
you
the
guys did a
effort-
beautiful job with
hard.
presentation, and
The
you can be
effort
proud
was
of that.
Yes. Anyways,
This might be one that we, and by might I mean it's most definitely one we don't recommend to the listeners.
No, we do
We
not.
still need to give them the recipe.
Although
Oh,
I
we
would,
will.
I
Don't
would
you worry.
love an improved version.
Yes.
If anyone out there is,
yeah, if any of our
Good
listeners know how to
at
like
S'moretini.
Mhm.
make a good s'more,
Yes, s'moretini.
s'moretini.
Oh, what were we calling this one though?
Oh, what? I was going to call it the Saturday the 14th because
Yes.
the idea is there, but
Yes.
it's a little off.
Yeah.
Exactly.
that.
Mhm.
Exactly.
I agree.
Saturday the 14th. A for idea.
Yep.
D minus for effort or
Yeah, okay.
execution.
yeah,
Fair.
Mhm. All right.
So yeah, we should let the listeners know that we are together because we wanted a spooky trip
Oh, I mean, yeah. No, we're doing
yes.
this because
all
of
together.
Friday the 13th.
Yeah. So we
Mhm.
thought we would have a weekend where we get all back together again. And go and do spooky themed activities.
Yeah. Because if
Yes.
you've been following us on Instagram, you know
Mhm.
Yes.
that we have been together this weekend
Mhm.
doing the spooky activities.
Yep.
Yes.
With our new little mascot.
Yes.
Yes.
Who, if you don't know who we're talking about, go to our Instagram right now and start to follow us.
Mm-hmm.
And see the most adorable
Because
little
you'll love
ghost.
And if you would like to purchase one, we will be giving you details online as to how you can do that, made by yours truly, aka Laura.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we did watch this movie in theater,
Mm-hmm.
which I'm honestly so excited about.
Yes.
I was wondering kind of how it would go, and it was like an almost fully packed theater
Yes.
Yeah.
that we were in, and I feel like that made that so
Yes.
fun.
It was such a vibe. And I
Mhm.
feel like the people that we were with, like the audience, was perfect. Like
Mhm.
everyone was respectful and, but they still were like
Mhm.
Excited.
and kind of in it. And you
Yeah.
kind of,
Energy was high.
yeah, the energy was high and there was a lot of audience participation.
Yes.
But in the least annoying way, like it
Yes.
didn't bother me,
Yes.
like,
Mhm.
no, it was perfect.
Well, because the theater we saw it in was called the Hollywood
Mhm.
Theater in
Yes.
Portland, Oregon.
Oh, anyone who knows. It's an
Mhm.
amazing theater. Yeah.
It's just very old school.
Mhm.
The theater that we were in for our particular movie was upstairs, but you went up some stairs and then you went up this like ramp that was just it felt like we were in a fun house.
Yes.
Like
It did.
the floor was completely not level. It
Yep.
was wild. It was so fun. And they serve alcohol there, which is what started our debauchery tonight.
Mhm.
Yep.
And the popcorn was amazing, and just the ambiance was incredible.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
I'm so glad we got to experience
Yes.
the Hollywood Theater.
Yes,
Me
in
too.
Portland.
definitely. And honestly, I think the movie is part of what created such a good
Mhm.
atmosphere.
Mhm.
So I think this is just a good October movie.
Agreed.
Yes.
I think if you're just looking for like a fun
Mhm.
October spooky movie to watch, like
Mhm.
Yes.
I think this movie is just kind of great.
Totally.
To go watch it.
Yes.
Well, and I will say, because I have never seen it. So
Yes.
yeah, this was my first time with the movie. And it's like after seeing it, I realized it's one of those things where, like, of course I knew Friday the 13th in quotes, right? Like
Right.
I knew what that was, and I had heard about Jason and, like, you know, the later things, but I actually had no idea, like, what happened
Mhm.
in this movie.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
who the killer was and what actually went down, and like so it was kind of fun because I kind of went in blind and just
Yeah.
got to, like, be in the moment.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh.
Have you seen any variation of a Friday the 13th movie?
No, but I've seen clips of later variations of
Okay.
of it.
Okay.
So I've seen,
Yeah.
like, clips of it, but I've never
Mhm.
seen a full
Mhm.
actual movie.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think for me, it's I had seen this movie a very long time ago, and I was kind of mentioning to you guys earlier, but like there have been so many sequels, and there have been so many movies and shows that did this concept
Right.
of spooky camp, a serial killer
Yep.
on the loose. That I didn't remember what was in this movie and what was from something else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that made it a lot more fun. Like, this is a really fun movie. If you haven't watched it in a while, maybe pause and then come back, but go watch it.
Right.
Mhm.
You know, because it's a fun one to, like, take a break from and then come back to.
Oh,
I
And
totally.
be
agree.
surprised by it.
Because I was the same. So I saw this movie a very long time ago, probably at this point, like 20 years ago.
Mhm.
And I've seen, like you, Brienne, I've seen different variations, but I remembered certain things. I
Mhm.
remembered the counselors coming to camp.
Yes.
I remembered something about the lake. I remember the one scene of the girl and the killer, who we'll talk about later, having this, you know, bitch slap fight.
Mhm.
So I remembered certain things, but I actually forgot the main thing.
Yeah.
I know.
Like
Yeah.
I forgot the surprise at the end. I forgot like a lot of it. So it was really, really fun to watch. And the audience was just ridiculous. Like normally it's kind of like, you know, when you're in a plane and the
Mhm.
you know, the captain lands, which is his like one fucking job, and everyone like
Everyone
claps.
claps.
Yeah. It's
Like,
like,
yay!
no.
You landed the plane. I
Yeah.
just roll my eyes so hard. But this one, at like certain parts in the movie, everyone cheered or clapped, or at the end of it,
And
everyone
it
clapped.
was
And actually, it felt good.
Yeah, it
so
did.
appropriate.
I was like, that's okay.
Yeah.
Because it was done well. It was
Yeah.
Felt
good.
okay.
Everyone enjoyed it. So yeah.
well, and I think because I was expecting it to be a horrible movie. Like I thought it,
Really?
yeah, like I thought
Mm.
it was like, oh, this is so popular because it's a terrible movie.
Oh.
So, because like Nightmare on Elm Street, well,
Yeah,
I guess
yeah.
I'm giving
I mean,
away
it's a
my opinion.
similar
But like,
concept.
I
yeah.
like Nightmare.
no,
Nightmare
I
on
do
Elm
too.
Street.
I do too.
Film. Sorry.
But
yeah.
like, I thought this was like famous for being so bad.
Mhm.
So when I'm
Oh,
watching it, I
interesting.
keep having these moments where I'm like, oh my God, this is such a good movie. Like, this
So
is
good.
amazing.
yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep.
Mhm.
So that's how I felt.
Okay. All right.
Well, I think maybe let's just start at the
Mhm.
beginning.
Yep.
We get the maybe not original, but you know, our first intro in the movie is the camp counselors at Camp Crystal Lake in 1958.
Yes,
Yes.
that's right.
And I forget what they're all singing, but I'm just going to say they were singing Kumbaya.
Right, they were
And
singing
they're-
essentially. That's
Yeah.
what it was. Yes, yes.
Yeah.
In the main cabin, we see the couple sneak away from their little
Mhm.
sing along,
Mhm.
and that's where we get the first two
Mhm.
deaths in the movie.
Yes.
Yes.
Right off the bat. I don't know the timing, but it's like this is the very beginning
Yes.
of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, I mean, classic horror. It's like, it is a cliche, like a horror cliche of like sex equals death.
Right.
Right.
But in a way, it's kind of like, okay, yeah, here we go. Like,
Yep.
you know you're in for just like a classic.
Exactly.
horror movie.
Mhm.
I don't know.
No,
I thought it was.
I completely agree.
And I do feel like this movie does a really good job of showing kind of the perspective you get while the deaths are happening is as though you're the killer. It's
Yeah.
like
Yes.
what you would see if you were being the attacker
Yes.
toward the victims. You get to see how they're running away from you and like how they're screaming. And it's almost like you're the
You're in their
monster.
shoes.
You're-
yeah,
yeah.
you are. You're in their
So
shoes. Like,
it's
yeah.
really kind of like a morbidly fun way
Mhm.
of
It is.
experiencing
Yeah.
the
No,
terror.
totally. Yes.
Yeah.
And these
So
are,
it's good.
they're actually somewhat gruesome, right? We
Mhm.
see the guy, Barry, get stabbed. I think
Yes,
in like the
right in the gut.
stomach. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then I forget. I don't think we see the.
I don't
Girl stuff.
think we see the girl, but we see that. I mean, she's running away and she's kind of getting backed into a corner,
Mhm.
and you see just that. I like it seems as though the killer, from my memory, is like gonna like come at her toward the throat area.
That's right.
But
yeah.
you don't. I
Mhm.
don't think for her death you actually.
see
Yeah, I
it.
think that's
see it.
true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
but still, like solid beginning.
Yes. Mhm.
Solid intro.
I think
Mhm.
any horror movie that just starts you
Yep.
with a death, it's like
I love.
I think
I love that.
it set it up for exactly what the rest of this movie was going to be,
Mhm.
right? It
Yes.
was like we have camp counselors and they're getting
Yep.
murdered.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like,
No,
all right,
I actually
where we're going.
appreciate that. Like
Mhm.
when you just start strong.
Yeah.
Like get in there.
Totally.
Mhm.
Totally. Yep.
So then we kind of flash forward to present day, quote unquote,
Right.
which
is
I don't think they say the year, but the movie was released in 1980.
Yeah.
so it was either 79
late
or 80.
70s.
Like
I'm guessing about 20 years later is what they're
Yeah.
trying to
Yeah.
Spend
portray.
some time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we meet Annie, who is
Yeah.
heading towards
the
camp.
hitchhiker. Yeah.
The hitchhiker,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
And she's in
sure.
this creepy town.
Yeah.
Like she's walking around and there's just no one.
No one. It's like
Around.
a ghost town almost.
Yeah.
Right.
Like
Right.
It's just
Yeah.
no one anywhere nearby. And she goes into a diner, letting
Mhm.
them know that she's heading to Camp Crystal Lake.
Yep.
Because they're
Mhm.
opening it up
Mhm.
again. And I feel like if the entire town, population 5, lets you know,
Don't
like,
go.
don't go, like maybe at least consider not
At least
going.
respect that there might be something going down.
Yeah.
Like
Well, and they even say, like, you should just not go. And she says,
Mhm.
I can't. But she doesn't say why. Like, she
That's
doesn't say,
true,
like,
she
I just
doesn't.
really need the money for something. But
Mhm.
she's just like, basically.
yeah, you kind of have to think of your own imagination.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I love the story that she tells. So she gets a ride to the camp.
Yes.
She gets
Yes.
one of the guys leaves the diner and he's going toward that direction, so he's
Yeah.
going to bring her most of the way because otherwise it's like 20 miles away.
And I think he says he'll take her like halfway.
Halfway. Yeah.
Mhm.
And she ends up telling him like this, like, it's supposed to be this really heartwarming story of, oh, I've always known I wanted to work with kids. And so I just knew no matter what, I was going to make it happen. And I was like, girl, you are a freaking camp counselor.
I know.
This is not like some big effort you had to do to get this job.
Right.
Like-
Yeah.
I know.
But anyway, she made it happen working with kids.
Yeah.
Well, and I love her line about like, I hate how they call them kids. Makes me think of little goat.
Yes.
I was like, what? Like
They have some
that was so
random funny lines in this movie.
I think one of my favorite parts about horror movies is the atrocious lines that
Oh,
happen
yeah.
in between
Mhm.
the horror. Like, it's just
Yeah.
just filler where they think they're maybe being clever. I
Right,
think that's
I
the
guess.
worst or best part about it.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
think they're being clever and it's just awful.
We also have to talk about before she even gets in this guy's truck, we see like creepy guy number 1 and then creepier guy number 2,
Yes.
right? You get
Right.
the guy that she got the ride from who's like, oh, are all the girls in the camp going to be as like cute as you or something? It's like, oh,
Oh, yeah.
Because he's like 40.
Double her age.
At least.
And
At
she's
least,
like
at least.
17.
Yeah.
Like,
And so it's like, I think like everyone in the theater was like, oh,
Oh,
okay. Like
he's-
everyone is immediately like, I don't
He's
like
giving
this.
off rapey vibes.
And then you get like creepier man number 2
Yes.
coming up to them.
mhm.
Yes.
Audible reactions from the movie theater audience at these pervy guys.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which, like, I guess partially it's like, I guess it was 1980.
Right. It was the
But-
era. Like,
But also,
well, no, because like, you like hitchhiking,
Mhm.
yeah.
a bad rap to like not
Right.
hitchhike.
Right.
So,
Right.
yeah.
I guess in like 1980, was it like,
I feel like
at
that was.
point, had people known not to hitchhike?
I feel like I feel like that's when it started to not be okay.
Yeah, I think it
Like-
was kind of the late
Yeah,
70s.
early
Mhm.
80s is when it was like, ooh,
Mhm.
bad things are happening to hitchhikers. So
Okay.
'Cause
Yeah.
I think we've
Sure.
maybe talked about in our like OG episode
Mhm.
of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre because they
Right.
were doing some hitchhiking, right?
Oh,
Weren't we talking
true.
about
Yeah.
that then?
Mhm.
But yeah, so I think this was right around when it's no longer
like
It's starting to be no
yeah.
longer okay.
Yeah,
to
not
hitchhike.
as cute.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of disgusting people out there.
Right.
Yeah. So I guess talking about that, Annie, ride number 1 is okay.
Right.
She does get to the
Yep.
halfway point or whatever of her
Yep.
destination,
Yes.
which is at the cemetery.
Yes.
It's like, if I was
Right.
gonna drop you off at this
I
cemetery.
wanted to go to that cemetery so bad. I love cemeteries more than anything in the world. And I was just like, oh my gosh, that cemetery looks beautiful. I want
Yeah.
to go walk around in it.
Yeah.
Especially ones like that have beautiful gravestones.
Yes.
And, yeah.
Totally.
Mhm,
But it's okay, yeah, so here's ominous clue number 50
Right.
mhm. Right.
for her.
Right.
Yep.
I'm just gonna drop you off at this cemetery. Good luck.
hmm
And she does eventually hitch a ride with someone who we don't see.
No, we don't see them.
Yeah, it's again that
Mhm.
perspective thing where we're seeing the driver's perspective
Yeah.
of what's happening, not the driver themselves.
Oh my God. You are just blowing my mind right now because you're
Mhm.
saying we see this driver
Mm-hmm.
where before we realized that they were going to be the killer, they were giving us clues.
They were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
all along
Oh,
because
yeah.
then it's always the killer's
Yeah.
perspective.
Yep.
Mhm.
I didn't even realize
Oh,
that they
yeah.
were just giving us the clue
Uh-huh.
that this was the killer
Okay,
the whole
but
time.
it
Yes.
was misleading because in the killer was
Uh-huh.
driving the same car as the
That
camp
Mr.
owner.
Christie was.
And
Yeah.
so for a second,
Mhm.
it is, they don't show the driver. So
Yep.
it is a little suspect, but for a second it is oh, am I going to get the relief of them showing that it's actually just the counselor, or not the counselor, but the
Right.
The
owner.
owner.
of the
I forget
camp.
his name.
Yeah, I know,
It's something
his name.
Christie. Stephen?
Oh, yeah,
Steve
Mr.
Christie?
Christie. Mr. Christie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
hmm
So I do think having them drive the same car was a good
Uh-huh.
kind of
Yeah.
just misleading
Yep.
part
Yeah,
of the
because
movie.
they, the killer,
Mhm.
didn't have a trailer.
Mhm.
hmm
So I feel like we can just finish off Annie's story.
Yep. Yep.
She dies.
She died.
Spoiler
The
alert.
end. Don't hitchhike.
And we see it, right? She's the one that we just see her throat being slit.
Yeah,
Right?
because she realizes that the person's not they pass the camp,
Mhm.
and so she says, "Oh, you passed the road. I think we should
'Cause
go
there's a
back."
sign.
Yeah,
And
stop
there's
the
a
car.
sign.
That's fair.
But then they start going faster, and she's like, "Let me out, please, let me out,
Mhm.
please." So she kind of just barrel rolls out of the car, is
Yep.
trying to get out, and she's then running through the woods, and then you see the person chasing her,
Yep.
and then they do a really good job, I think, of the effects in this movie.
Yeah.
Of they slit her throat, and you just see the blood start to seep
Oh.
out,
The gore and the effects in this movie
so good.
it's legit.
It is
Uh-huh.
so much.
Yeah.
Yes.
If you don't like seeing blood,
Don't watch this movie.
this is not. Yeah.
No,
this is
it was
not for
way
you.
more intense than I was expecting.
This movie is rated R, but even
Right.
still,
Mhm.
it's
No,
a
it's-
lot.
Mhm.
it's legitimately, yeah. Yes.
And I feel like there is this for some reason in my mind, I was still oh, maybe she'll run to the camp. Maybe she'll get to the
Right.
camp and the killer won't get her.
Right.
And I don't know why I kept feeling that because the killer always got them.
Every
But
time.
I swear every time I was oh, but maybe they'll,
No.
get away with it. Because in horror movies, you do usually have these moments of relief where they're oh, I psyched you out.
That's
They're
true.
actually safe.
That's true.
They're not
Mhm.
in danger. And I swear, I feel like we didn't get many of those in this
I
movie.
don't think we got
It
any.
kept happening.
They
No, they
all
just-
died.
No, if they were in danger, then they died.
Then they
Yes.
died.
It was just it's very consistent, and
It does.
yeah,
there's a lot of follow through.
yeah.
Okay, so we can kind of flash forward now to the camp where we meet the rest of the camp counselors, the rest of the crew.
One of whom is one of my favorite persons of all time, Kevin
Oh,
motherfucking Bacon.
I legitimately was wait a second. That's not Kevin Bacon, right? I
No,
Gaslit
I thought about
myself.
it. Yeah,
I thought it was wrong.
Ladies, I don't know that you know this about me, and sippers, I don't know that you know this about me. I have a major crush on Kevin.
Oh, I knew
Bacon.
that.
Back in his heyday, and also today.
Yes.
I still sometimes see the Instagram posts
Uh-huh.
that he makes with his sweet wife. I love this man.
Mhm.
I love him so
I
much.
didn't know this.
Kevin Bacon if you would like to please follow us or meet me, I would be very amenable
You
to
personally.
that.
Not
Yeah, I don't care about you
just
guys.
Me.
Love.
This is coming from me personally.
Me or Spooky Sips in
Love.
general.
Yeah, Kevin, if you want to be on an episode.
I really love you. My crush for him started out in the
Mhm.
movie Footloose,
Of course.
Naturally.
obviously.
Obviously. But what was the one that I'm thinking of him from?
Tremors.
Yes, that's it.
I like
Yes.
that you knew.
Yes.
Because he's so hot in that movie. I know that movie is so ridiculous,
No,
but Kevin, you are
I-
so hot in that movie.
Love that movie.
It's so
I
good.
love Tremors. It is classic.
I love him so much. Oh,
It's an
That's
amazing
I forget
movie.
even what we were talking about. My brain is just
We're
now on
just
Kevin
talking
Bacon.
about the counselor.
Okay.
I honestly could not tell it was him. In my mind, I was like, is he, isn't he, is he, isn't he?
Well,
Like,
no, I
especially
knew.
because like
yeah.
it wasn't like he was a standalone character.
No,
he was
yeah.
just one of the counselors.
Yeah.
It wasn't like
Mhm.
main character
Yeah.
energy, Kevin Bacon.
This is
No,
how
it was just-
versatile this man is. He just,
Yes.
you know, he can be a standout or he can blend in. He's not pretentious.
Yep.
I was like losing your breath over here.
I know she is. She's
I
getting
love-
worked up.
I
you
love Kevin
guys.
Bacon so much. I don't know why I love him so much,
I
but I
don't
really
know.
do.
She's
Oh, he's so
exciting.
good.
Oh my god.
Oh man,
Ah.
him, Ethan Hawke, so good.
Oh my god.
All right. Anyway,
Lord.
let's move on.
Back to business. So we meet all the counselors. We realize that everyone is there except for Annie the cook, who we all know what happened.
yes.
Mhm.
And so they have, I think they say, oh, we have 2 weeks at some point,
Yeah, they
right?
have 2 weeks to get
2
the camp
weeks to
ready.
get it all ready.
Yes.
Because they're kind of implying that the camp has been closed for
For a
many
while.
years,
While.
which
Yeah.
I think really has been since the deaths that we saw,
I
the
think
first
so.
and second
Yes.
death
Mm-hmm.
back in 57, 58.
Yeah, something
Yeah,
like that.
yeah, it was the 50, yeah 58.
So it kind of seems like the camp has been closed for 20 some years and now they're
Mhm.
trying to reopen it.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so they're all kind of like doing like miscellaneous chores, and the
Mhm.
owner, whose name we keep forgetting, at
Christy.
least I do, Christy,
Mr. Christie.
leaves to go like get something.
Yeah, he
or
like
do
goes to
something.
town. I think he like
Yeah.
goes to pick something up or
So he gets in his little jeep and goes, and the
Mhm.
counselors are kind of like doing miscellaneous things.
Well, they're kind of like, party time a little bit because
Yeah,
he's like this like real jerk heart. He reminds me of every boss I had in my first like menial jobs
mm-hmm.
where they're just like, you may not do anything fun or
Yeah.
non-productive on
Yeah.
work time. Like he's just like really a hard ass.
hard ass.
Yeah.
So he leaves and they're like, they're still doing a good job, but they're like,
Yeah,
oh,
they're gonna
let's take a minute to
Goofing a little
swim.
bit.
Right.
Yeah,
Like, yeah. So they're kind of excited that he takes a little bit of time off.
So they do have a couple, I don't know, spooky things unrelated to the killer. One of
Mhm.
which, and I don't know if this is the first of the things that happens, but they see, one of them sees a snake
Yeah, in their camp,
in their
room.
camp, which would be so scary.
Yeah, because that was a scary looking. That was like
That was like
a big black snake.
like a big, long black
Yes.
snake.
Mm-hmm.
Who I just like that freaking scene, man, where like one of them screams and they all run in,
Yes.
and it is just chaos.
Yes,
It's-
it's
yeah.
full.
It is like,
chaos.
okay, what do we do? They're like,
They
okay.
they're all in different directions. They're throwing, they're hitting, they're yelling.
like a pillow, like the
Yeah, a
feathers
pillow-
are flying
the
around.
feathers are coming out.
Yeah.
They're
What
like
do I do?
chopping it.
I loved that line too. Like, what do I do? Because
Yeah.
she's like, there's a snake. He goes, well, what do I do?
What do I do?
I don't know. Because they're all just kids. Like,
Yeah.
they
Right.
don't know.
No,
what to
I mean,
do.
yeah, what would you, at like 17,
Uh-huh.
if
Yeah.
someone's like, oh my god, a snake, it's like, oh.
I don't know what to do
at
now,
this
and I am
age,
a
I
lot
wouldn't know
older
what
than
to do.
17.
I'd be like, I don't know. Well, one of them is my favorite because like, you know, they're all yelling and screaming, and so like someone's like, you know, well, you know, there's a snake in here. And the one girl is like, well, why are there so many of us in here then? Like, why are we in here if there's a
She
snake
was
in
the
here?
only sane one.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
loved
like,
that.
Why
line.
are we in here?
If there is a snake in here, why are we also?
Yeah,
in
why
here?
are we in here?
This
What are we
makes no
doing?
sense. No, totally.
Now, I do think they used a real snake, and I think this is kind of before
Oh,
they had a lot of
animal. Right.
Oh, did they really
rules,
kill the
so
snake?
I think they actually did cut.
yeah.
snake.
Oh, son
I
of a-
had
Yeah.
a feeling about
It
that.
looked very real.
yeah.
Oh my gosh, that makes me really sad. I quit.
I think, you know what? I'm done.
Yeah,
and they never heard from her again.
That's it.
Wouldn't that be funny if that episode just
That was the end of my. Spooky
episode's
Sips is
done.
over.
Hard pause.
Yeah.
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 We-
Oh, that does make me really
Yeah,
sad. I wonder
I
what
mean,
kind of snake it was.
It is sad, but also it's good to know that in this day and age, we have better laws against that.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know,
Yes.
that has changed, and you can't just kill an animal
Right.
for the movie's sake.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
Oh.
yeah. I know, but I feel like it did look very realistic
It did. Yeah.
in the movie,
That-
so I'm honestly
it
not
did.
completely surprised.
More than anything we've talked about a lot of really
It's
messed
the
up
most
things.
upsetting.
Yeah.
That's the most upsetting.
Well, it's because that's actually real.
Right.
Well, right. I know.
Yeah.
And the snake didn't do
I
anything
know.
wrong. At
Yeah.
least they killed it quickly, I
Yeah.
guess.
Usually in our show, we can be like, well, it's okay because none of it's real. And this
Sadly,
one
that
was.
one
Alright,
was.
well, okay, let's move on.
Yeah. Okay, well,
Because
move
I
on
can't
to
think
the
about
next
this anymore.
spooky thing. They get a visit from Ralph,
Oh.
who we had met earlier. Which, look, Ralph, at the end of the we realized he was right. You know, at the end of the day, for whatever reason, he was there warning people. He
Yep.
he was actually kind of right. Why did he choose to deliver this message by hiding in the pantry?
Yeah. I mean, I believe they called him the town loon
Yes.
on
Yeah.
the PC thing,
Mhm.
but so I think he just maybe.
So-
Anyway, he
Um,
tried to warn them. He tried his best.
Right.
Mhm.
And then he bicycled away.
Him on his bicycle.
So
Because
cute.
I
the
know.
first time we meet him, he also rides away on his bicycle.
Yes.
I feel like that second time after the pantry scene, it's like
Mhm.
I feel like that scene was really long.
Yes.
was.
We really watched him
Yes.
ride away
Mhm.
on that
I
bike.
agree.
Yeah, he struggled. I felt like the same with the cop at
Yeah, the
some point.
motorcycle.
It
Yeah,
takes
we
the cop.
watched that
Yeah,
for
for-
a really long
That
time.
was also
Ever.
during this
U-turn?
kind of section.
Yes.
Yes, him doing the U-turn.
I was like, oh my god, this is the
He
longest
was doing like a 20-point turn to turn
thing
around
I've ever
and
seen
get
in
out
my
of
whole
there.
life.
Oh,
Okay, so then we get into so we have this kind of like pre-spooky, not related to the actual killer. This
Yeah.
whole time we know someone's watching.
Yes.
him.
right.
Yes.
We
Yeah,
do
we
see
kind of
that.
see
Yeah, we
get
that.
someone's watching.
But then the storm
Well, the
comes.
rain.
The rain
Mm.
comes,
Yes.
and with the rain, so does the murder.
So do the deaths. Okay, first one to go is who's the first one to go?
Oh my gosh.
Oh. No, it's the guy.
Oh, it's Ned.
It's Ned.
Oh,
that his name?
I think
oh yeah.
Ned?
So he
Yes.
he sees the woman that he loves or is like
Oh,
into,
Yeah,
Yes.
he's crushing.
and Kevin Bacon, and they're like making out on the dock, and so he like
Mhm.
kind of like pouts away,
Yeah.
and then we don't see his death,
No.
but we learn later
that he's dead.
that he had died.
Well, and we know who's in that kick because
Yes.
he sees someone outside the cabin
Right.
door go in.
Yep.
And he's like,
Mhm.
oh, like, can I help you? Like, he's going in, and like, we all know
Yes.
who's in there. So it's implied
Yes,
he's been killed.
Yes.
absolutely.
And then after that, we get the lovebirds.
Well,
Lovebirds.
okay, and I think this is my favorite. Is not the guy,
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
but is the girl's death.
Uh-huh.
So the guy went first, right? He died first.
Yeah,
He
so
did.
they go to Brown Chicken Brown Cow,
Mm-hmm.
and then she goes to pee,
Right.
and so the killer like is like below the mattress and like basically
Yes,
just
that
like
was my
does
favorite.
a stab.
But that's to the guy.
That's to the guy.
Yeah, that's the
That's to the guy.
Oh, and it's the girl that's through the back. Which one was it that's through the
she's-
mattress?
So through the match, that's Jack. So for that death, right? It's like they do their
Yeah,
thing.
he's like laying on
He's
the
laying
bed.
on the bed.
No, yeah,
and then
it's
like
the guy.
comes through
Yeah,
his back like a
It's through his
spear.
neck.
Yeah, like
His
we see it
neck.
from the
Oh,
mattress.
oh.
And
I love that.
I think part of because I also love that death, and I think part of what made it so good is that the camera either zooms out or goes
Mhm.
up, and we realize that they're actually on a bunk bed.
Yes, and Ned has
Ned's
been above
body
them.
is
Yeah.
above them,
Yeah.
and we see the blood drip,
Drip.
on Kevin
Ooh, on
Bacon's
his forehead.
face.
Yes.
Mhm. And then
And he goes to wipe it, and you're like, oh man, he's about to realize
Yes.
that Ned has been dead
Yes.
enough him the whole time.
And then he
Just
dies.
kidding, he's
And
stabbed
he's
in the
gone.
neck from
Yeah.
behind.
Loved.
Again, and I think that's another thing with like this movie. It was good at playing with our expectations.
Yes.
And I think any movie that can do that successfully is a good movie. Like they knew what we were expecting.
It's like they knew where our thought process was and what our next thought was.
Yeah.
And they got ahead of it. Like,
absolutely.
We've all seen it. The blood starts dripping. The character looks up and it's, dead body.
Yep.
And this movie said no.
Yeah. They were
You're
like,
dead.
No, you're dead.
You're the dead body.
You're the dead body.
Oh my gosh.
So good.
So then we move on to Marcy.
Yes.
Who's gone to the bathroom.
Yes, and we don't actually see her death.
Which is just good health advice. After you have sex, everyone, go pee.
Yeah, after sex.
It's really good to avoid urinary tract infections.
It is. Yeah,
Yes.
that's a good thing to know.
But we don't
PSA.
actually see her death, right? Like she's checking behind the shower curtains.
We see the axe in her face.
Yeah.
Oh,
she gets the
yes,
axe to the
that's
face.
right. Okay. Yes.
So she's like, she hears someone in the bathroom and she's like looking through the curtains. And then, I think you can see that she sees someone and
she
is scared.
starts to scream and get scared.
And then the next thing you see is just a giant axe through her face. The makeup department
was like right through
of
the
this
center of
movie.
her face.
So
putting
good.
like the just the blood and the like
Amazing.
fake neck and body part and like
No, it was
face to
amazing.
have the weapons in. They did so good.
They did.
Agreed.
So
They
good.
did.
Even like by today's standards.
No, I
because
agree.
this movie was 1980.
Oh yeah. No, like I was troubled.
Oh, it was
Like,
so
what I
good.
was seeing.
It held up so well.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because it didn't have any of those like cheap tries. You
Uh-huh.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it didn't like they didn't try to make it even gorier than it should be, and
Yep.
it ends up being cheesy.
Yep.
They didn't do that, which I appreciated.
No, so
Yeah.
good.
So then we get the 3 remaining counselors,
Who are all playing strip Monopoly.
which I feel like of all the board games to make a strip version out of, honestly, that still sounds boring.
That's the most boring one.
Like that's Monopoly is a 5-hour game.
I thought the same.
and like how in the world?
That's the worst one.
That is the worst one.
really is.
I've never played. I can't say that like from experience, but her being like, "Oh, but you'll like my version." It's like,
Wait, you've never played regular?
no, strip Monopoly.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I thought you were saying you've never played Monopoly.
no.
And I was
And
like,
I was
well,
gonna say, well, I don't want to, but
But here
to
we go.
play.
No. I have played Monopoly. I've
Okay.
never played strip Monopoly.
Okay.
You know, I
No,
was
I haven't
thinking though,
either.
as they were playing, I was like, I could maybe play strip Monopoly. That could be fun. No?
It would be.
I see. It would just a lot of anticipation.
And here's the other thing.
Yeah.
Though. What were the rules? I don't think I actually caught how strip Monopoly.
Instead of paying
Yes.
rent,
yeah,
you take off a piece of clothes.
but they
So
still
when you
had
land-
cash.
Yeah, but they
Yeah.
weren't using the cash for rent. Like,
Oh, they could buy property.
yeah, you could buy the property.
Oh, but
you
they
just
couldn't
couldn't
pay
earn
rent.
Yes.
money from rent because you
That
earned clothes.
would be painfully slow.
Yes.
It would take a while, but once it gets going,
Yeah, that's true. Once
all
it
of a
gets
sudden
going,
people are
it's
naked.
true.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's easier ways to get naked.
There is, and I think much like what happened in the movie, it would be like, well, we should probably just go to bed now.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, so that's what happened.
Yeah. So they it was taking too long, and
And did she like hear something, or why did she? Why
yeah,
did
she
just
thought
like,
she
okay,
heard
I'm gonna,
something, so she was like, "Oh, let me go check." And then she was like, "Okay, well, good night, guys."
I'm gonna go to
I
bed.
think she like hears something. Oh no, the door opens
Oh,
because of
that's
the
right.
wind. Like it's
Oh.
actually just the wind. And then Brenda, who's the one who leaves, says, "Oh, I think I left my window open. I'm like
Ugh.
near positive I left it open.
Mhm.
So let's just call
That
it
was
there."
fake. She was just bored of Monopoly. She
Yes,
just wanted
right.
to
Because
go.
Monopoly is a boring game.
Yeah, I like it, but it
It's
takes
just,
a long time.
Yeah.
It's too
It takes a
long.
long time.
It's
Mhm.
too long of a game.
Yeah,
Agreed.
that's true. That's true.
So then we get Brenda
Mm-hmm.
going back to
Yes.
her cabin.
Yeah, so she goes also to brush her teeth.
Mm-hmm.
So she leaves her cabin. She goes to like the bathroom
Mm-hmm.
cabin or whatever.
Right.
And she keeps hearing things.
Yes.
Mhm.
And
And
so
the-
she's like looking around.
she keeps looking at the shower. Like
Yes.
clearly there's like some sound, and then we do get that creepy scene where when she's looking away, we see the killers like
Mhm.
just fingers grab the curtain and look out
Yeah.
at her. That was so good. Like
Yes.
that was
So
creepy.
good.
Like you know the killer is there the whole
Mhm.
time. Like they're building
Right.
they're building that tension. But like I think showing it somehow, it was like now I'm even more scared because we've seen the killer kill so quickly.
Yes.
It was like
they're not
here
leaving.
we go.
They're not
Another
leaving
one.
people. They're just killing. They're
Yeah.
just gonna kill. Yeah, absolutely.
But we do surprisingly see her leave the bathroom.
We do.
Right.
She goes.
Mm-hmm.
And goes back to her cabin.
Mhm.
And then she hears what sounds like a child
Oh
Yes.
calling for help.
Which I
Yes.
think is our first bit of a clue that this is
Yeah.
not a male killer.
Yeah.
Because it's almost like if I, as a female adult, were to impersonate a little kid, I just can get that tone a little bit more than I
Right.
think a man could.
Yeah.
Like of like impersonating a child.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
So
and
she
I
goes
think,
looking.
and like in hindsight, it is absolutely a clue. But then while it's happening, it's like, whoa, wait. Because I don't know how much of the killer they'd shown at this point, but I was under the impression it was an adult man.
Yes.
Based on height.
Well, they show
from
like
the
a little bit of
perspective.
shoulders. They show
shoulder, some of the shoes.
Perspective,
I think we see the legs. So it's like, at least you know it's an adult. Like,
Yeah.
just based off of like height, like the everything. So then when you see that, it's like, I don't know, maybe it is a ghost.
Mhm.
You know, maybe it's something spooky.
And like maybe this is prejudice, but like I think you just assume an adult man. I don't know. Like
that is just my
I don't know. Like when you-
Statistically, that's who
that's-
kills.
that
when
is-
you
So
think of a
yeah,
serial
Yeah.
killer, that's who I think of. Like
Mhm.
absolutely.
I don't.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So she goes and tries to help because someone's calling for help.
Right.
And by this time, it's raining really hard.
Very
so
hard.
she's just getting wet in her little yellow
Mhm.
nightgown,
Mhm.
which is the cutest
Little
little nightgown.
nightgowns.
Mhm.
And she ends up at the archery range.
Yes,
I guess.
that
I don't
is.
know if that's what they
Yeah.
call it.
No, it is. That's what they call it.
I don't know if I'd call it a range so much as they put some things on a on an easel.
A target on a stick.
They put a target on a stick that was all like shredded already.
Yeah.
This camp needed a little bit of funding,
A little
I'll
bit.
say.
They were starting out, okay? They were
Yeah.
restarting the
Okay.
camp.
Okay, but sure, we'll call it the archery range.
Yeah.
But she goes where the targets are. Like she's in the range,
Yes.
and then all of the lights turn on.
Yeah.
And they were like blinding bright lights
Totally.
at her.
Mhm.
And then you know she's a city.
Yeah,
at this
it's gonna
point.
happen.
But okay, but though her man ends up dying before her because she sees him. Yes, am I misremembering
Yeah.
that?
Oh,
when does
no,
wait.
you are. That is
her
No,
her
you are
bow?
right.
She sees him.
Because so she
You're
has
right.
gone to like investigate, but in the meantime, while she's like
Mhm.
brushing her teeth and getting ready for bed, like reading, we see that her man, because the power goes out.
That's right.
So her man goes to investigate the generator. The generator is a big thing in this movie.
Yes.
It is.
Mhm.
And so when he goes to investigate the generator, he
Mhm.
gets
I totally,
got.
yes. No, I flipped them. You're totally
Mhm,
right.
mhm.
Yes.
So he is trying to fix the generator, and the killer gets him. I don't
Mhm.
think we see too many details yet, though, because then it cuts to the
Yeah.
girl.
Yeah, I don't think we get a lot of details for that. For him or for Brenda, I don't think we see any
I
of
know.
her
I'm trying.
death.
I don't think we do.
I think we see the bright lights
Uh-huh.
and maybe the killer like going towards her or something. I don't think we get anything.
We don't see too much of her death. So
Yeah.
that's one thing that I really like
Mhm.
about this movie. So it shows the buildup and the terror
Yeah.
right before the death.
Mhm.
And then it kind of moves on, but then you see the aftermath.
Yeah.
So, like, you just said her name and I already forgot it. The girl in the yellow nightgown,
Brenda.
Brenda.
Mhm.
So we see that she's being kind of hunted. We see that she's scared. And
Mhm.
meanwhile, we had just seen that for her boyfriend.
Yeah.
And we didn't see his death, but we then see Brenda find her boyfriend. She
Yeah.
she like shuts a door, and you see her boyfriend has just been stabbed multiple
Yeah.
times with like archery
all over the
All the-
face,
yeah.
Arrows,
and
yeah.
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 So, and then we also, at some point later, we see Brenda, who had been killed, and she's got like ropes around her and she's all bloody. And so, like, you see
Yeah.
them dead and you see them alive, but you don't see the actual moment.
Yeah, the act of it.
Mhm.
Which is like a brilliant way to do it, because you get to you get the psychological part of the terror without needing so much. And we do see
Yeah.
gruesomeness in this movie.
Oh, definitely.
Don't get me
Definitely
wrong.
Not trying
We
to say
see
that
it.
Don't show
Oh, yeah.
it.
But like
Mhm.
some of the deaths you don't need to see it. They
Right.
just show kind of the aftermath.
Now, so
Yeah.
I think actually even before these, we have the owner of the camp because his is
Yes.
kind of separate, but I think
Yes.
technically his happens before these two. I think
Yes.
he might be like the seventh death.
Mhm.
Okay.
So we get back to Mr. Christie. I think he's at a diner.
He was at a diner.
He was at a diner, and he had gone to, I guess, get supplies because
Yeah.
he's driving his Jeep,
Right.
and he has a trailer in the back. So like clearly he had gone to like go get some stuff, and
Yeah.
he's talking to the person at the diner where it's like, no, I have to go back because all the counselors are there. And I think he even makes like a comment about how they're just not ready
Yeah.
for the
Yeah, because they're
rain.
like little kids and you
'Cause
just
they're
left. They're not
children.
little kids. Sorry.
No,
they're like
but
they're
19-year-olds.
Yeah,
And you
definitely
just left them there and you're like,
Mhm.
take care of everything. I gotta
Yeah,
go get
good luck.
supplies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so his Jeep stalls, dies,
Mhm.
can't turn on.
I think it's stuck in the mud or
or
something.
gets stuck. Yeah.
Right. Right.
But a police officer just so happens to see him
to be driving by.
and is going to take him back to the
Yes.
camp. And again, it's like you get the little ray of hope, right? Where it's like, well, if the cop's going to take him back,
Then the
at this
cop
point
will-
we've already seen a few deaths. Like
Yep.
maybe we're nearing the end
Yeah.
of the deaths at
Mhm.
least. But then the cop gets a call that he has to go respond to. And so he leaves him like really close, where he's like,
Right.
I'm just gonna have to leave you here. I have to turn around to go
drops
respond
him
to the call.
off.
So he drops him off so he can walk back. And I do think this is where we get another hint where at this point I was like, whoa, wait, what? Because as he's approaching, someone shines like a flashlight towards him to kind of block his view, I
Yes.
assume. You know, like as he's walking closer. And then once he gets close enough, he sees who the killer is. And then he's like, oh, what are you doing here?
Yeah, what
Like
are you
confused.
doing here?
Yeah, but clearly knowing the person,
Yes.
not like, wait, like what are you like?
Right.
Who are
What are
you?
you doing
Yeah.
here? It was like, oh, what are you doing here?
Hey, you nut that I know. Like,
so
why
then
are
it was
you?
like, oh,
Mhm.
wait,
Yep.
who? It's so he knows who it's. Like, it's someone he knows. So
Yes.
we do get a hint
Mhm.
in that sense,
Yes.
Absolutely.
of who the killer is.
Yep, yep.
But I don't think it's enough to give anything away.
No.
No, I mean, as someone that didn't know, like, what
Yeah.
was it's not like I knew at this point. Oh, I know who it is. Like,
Right.
I didn't
Yep.
still.
Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm.
So we get his death, and then we can kind of jump. So at this point, all but one of the counselors is dead.
Mhm.
Little blonde,
Yeah,
blondie.
wait,
what was her
Oh,
name?
what was her name? Gosh, I know we knew it probably. but-
Alice.
Alice. Okay.
So a lot of the final part of the movie is just Alice and the killer.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's their kind of back and forth for the
Mhm.
movie. And so we start with Alice goes looking for her fellow counselors because at
Well,
this
'cause-
point it's just her.
Am I? Alice was the. Wait, was Alice the one that was like brushing her teeth and
No,
like
that was the other
no.
one.
that was
But
Brenda?
Alice is the one that was in the kitchen making tea or
Yeah.
something.
Mhm.
Oh God!
And she
okay, you're
mostly
right,
stayed in
you're
the
right.
cabin. And she was the one who was playing the strip Monopoly, but she didn't take any of her clothes off.
Okay, I'm there. I'm just
That we may have,
confusing
you may have
them.
mixed,
All right, yeah, I probably mixed
her
some people.
with Brenda. a
I think
little
I
bit.
mixed them up.
Yeah.
But spooky sippers, forgive me. I've been drinking
There's a
tonight.
lot of sipping.
No, so yeah, she's the one that she's in the kitchen, like heating up water
Mm-hmm.
and all of that. And
So it may have been actually her and Bill that were together because they had an
no,
energy.
it was her.
They had a
yeah,
connection. Like she
Yes.
knew that he had gone to the generator.
yeah.
Yes.
No, so she's the
Where
one
she
that
looked
found
for
him.
him.
She's
Yeah.
the one that found him, but she
That's
didn't die.
right. Yes.
So
that
okay,
was Alice.
Sorry, everyone, I messed that up.
all right, here we
No,
go.
you're good.
We're back
That-
on track. Here
no,
we
me
go.
too, but
Okay.
we're
Yes.
good. Back
Yeah.
on it.
Yeah.
So so Alice does find him at the generator.
Yes.
And there's also I didn't actually recognize who it was. So Alice goes back to her cabin
Mhm.
and realizes something is going on and starts like locking her door and like piling the furniture.
Yes.
Mhm.
And as she's kind of getting comfortable, a body smashes through the window.
Was that Brenda? That wasn't
was
the girl with
Brenda.
the axe in her face. That was the
Oh,
other
no,
girl.
that was
That was
Brenda.
Brenda.
Okay.
Yes.
I could not recognize.
Yes,
and again,
that was
just
her.
good job on the makeup
Yeah.
department.
Yeah,
but
that
I
was
had
her.
I figured it was one of them. I just didn't know.
Can I stop us for a second here and go
Yeah.
off on a tangent? So I feel like Alice did a half good, half horrendous job of trying to protect herself. So here's what she did. She realizes she cannot lock the door. Now the
Yeah.
door is a door that opens out.
Yes.
Okay, so she puts a rope around a rafter inside and then ties it also to the doorknob. So really the killer can't
Mhm.
open out because she's created this tension.
Mm-hmm.
So brilliant. But
Smart.
then she puts 2 pieces of wood
Yeah.
in front of the
No,
door.
okay, I actually love this part. And I think I'm going to argue everything that you're about to say.
She's stupid.
No, I think that is exactly what it is like. Like, have you ever been, and I'm not saying I've been in a situation like hers, but like in a panicked situation,
I have.
I think she actually did
Mm.
exactly what human nature does.
No, you're
She
right.
just
You don't think.
panicked.
Mhm.
And no, and you're in this weird where your thinking is warped because
Yes.
you're like, just do this, and like you just do
Block
these
the door.
weird ideas.
No,
and
you're right. You're
so
right.
I actually think it was
Okay.
super realistic.
It was realistic. I
honest.
will give you
Yeah.
that. It was realistic and honest, but also, girl, use your brain. So I feel like she did these things. The first thing she did was really, really smart. And then she just piled a bunch of shit. And then I'm just thinking to myself, okay, so the killer is going to like bust through your rope
Yeah.
because, I mean, you did a good job with that. But once they get through your rope, then what? They just step over the pieces of wood you've
Yeah,
piled
it
against the
wasn't-
door?
It wasn't a lot of furniture. It
No,
was
so
small
no,
furniture.
but though I do get what you're saying, Brianna, because I feel
Yeah.
like, yeah, you're right. You're in this panic mode. You're doing anything you can think of, whether it logistically makes sense,
Right.
which is what you should do,
Yeah.
right? Like you should just do
acting.
Because your
everything.
thinking does break. You're not
Yeah.
thinking, would this work? You're just do it.
Well,
It's
no,
like,
and
I don't know,
actually-
it's almost this.
Mm-hmm.
What do they call it? Like primal brain. Like
Yeah.
when your brain
Yeah.
just.
Well, no, so
You
so
know?
like logistically, it really is. So when we talk about this, like with the kids that I do counseling for, so when you're in this like hyper like aroused state of fear, or not like that, but like of fear or like excitement or anger or whatever, it's your amygdala that's thinking, your like basal brain, not your prefrontal cortex. So you're like
Mhm.
not making good decisions. You're like just doing like this like gut reaction
Right.
thing
Mm-hmm.
out of panic, which a lot of times is not good decision making.
Yeah.
It's not like logistical. It's so like psychologically, it actually like, you're right. That makes a lot of sense.
Right.
Yeah.
But I just, me in my comfy little chair with my delicious popcorn and my can of wine, I'm like, you idiot.
You idiot. And I do think the actress did a good job of looking frazzled and panicked. Like
She
the
did.
entire time, I was kind of like, oh god. She's like,
Yes.
kind of like, oh god, like
No,
what am I
I
doing?
loved that.
You know, she's just kind of
No,
grabbing things.
she
and
did.
Yes,
putting them
I
in the door.
loved that.
She did a great job.
That's
she
what
did
I
a
mean
great
by
job.
like this movie was so much better than I was expecting. Like,
Mhm.
Yeah.
like it was done so well that I was like, wait, this is actually like a
No,
good
it's very good.
movie.
Mhm.
Like,
Mhm.
yes.
Okay, so now what happens? I'm forgetting.
Well, at some point, we see after the body has been chucked through the window,
Right.
yeah.
we see a car approaching,
Yes.
and it's
We see
the
this
Jeep that's shared by
Yes.
apparently everyone in this movie.
Right.
And what's her Alice kind of reasonably assumes
It's
Christy.
Mr. Christie.
She's like, oh, finally, here we go. We can go
There's my
away
boss.
in his
Yes.
Jeep, and it's going to be okay. But it's not Mr. Christie
Nope.
that
It's not.
comes out of the Jeep.
Mhm.
To our surprise, it's some random lady,
Oh, what's her name? We know her name.
Mrs. Voorhees.
Voorhees. And she kind of gives this weird explanation like, oh, I've been friends with the Christies
Yeah.
for a
Yeah.
while, like back in the 50s.
Mhm.
Like, so she kind of explains that like she knows them,
Yeah.
and she's gonna help.
Yeah, and she's kind of
Alice.
like oh, you're just freaking out because of the storm.
Yeah, she's like, she's trying to calm her down.
She's
like,
gaslighting
oh,
her.
She's totally
yeah.
gaslighting
It's
her.
just the storm. Like, show me what's going on, and
Yeah,
I'll
but-
help you.
And she's like, Alice is like, let's just go. I don't want to show you. Like,
Yep.
and no, like,
Mhm.
and the older lady is like, no, I need to see, like, what's going on. And
Mhm.
And she
yeah.
goes along with it.
Ugh.
Mhm.
ugh.
Go inside the house, show her the dead body.
Yep.
But surprise, surprise, Mrs. Voorhees was not here to help.
Nope.
She was not.
Yes.
And is this when we get the epic? So several scenes in this movie got big reactions from the crowd. One of which is at some point eventually Alice realizes Mrs.
Mhm.
Voorhees is like a bad girl, and so like they
Yeah.
start to fight.
Yeah.
And so and this is one of the scenes from the movie I remember from like
Yeah.
20 years ago when I watched it. They're fighting, and I feel like Mrs. Voorhees' plan is to just bitch slap Alice to death.
Yes.
Yes.
Because they just start
No,
slapping.
their bitch slapping fight was my favorite thing.
And everyone was just laughing
Like,
hysterically in
Because
the
laughing
it's
theater.
just
so
so
hard.
much.
It's
It's like
so-
back to back to back. Like
It's
it's so many.
Yes.
It's so good. And then at one point Alice, to like prevent the attack, she like throws this big ball, or not ball, but like this big roll of twine.
Yeah, she's like throwing things at her.
She's like throwing it at Mrs. Voorhees to like prevent
to make
the
her
attack.
stop. And
It's so silly.
But I love it so
It's so
much.
good.
No, it's
They're
amazing.
back and forth fighting.
It's so
It
good.
was so fun.
Yeah.
no, it was amazing. It was epic.
It was
It's
yeah,
so
like,
good.
it was fun and it was epic, but I was interested.
Yes.
I didn't know where it was going to go because we had seen the killer kind of succeed the whole movie, and it's like,
Mhm.
well, maybe there's going to be the final girl. Like,
Mhm. That's what I thought too. Yeah,
I was
yeah.
interested. I didn't know.
No, and like Alice was holding her own, so it really was
Yeah.
like, what is going to happen?
Yeah,
Like,
you throw that ball of twine, girl.
yeah, you're like in it. You're watching
Yeah.
it, and
Yeah.
you're like I know, like I actually physically sat up in my chair.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I was like sitting on the edge of my actual seat.
No,
like,
you were.
No,
I
I
looked
was. Like,
over.
I was
You were.
So this is where, during all of this, we learn the motivation
Yes.
'Cause she-
behind Mrs. Voorhees.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because Mrs. Voorhees says,
Mhm.
Right.
Do you want to?
yeah. So she says, "Hey, my kid Jason was a camper back in '58. Was it
Mhm.
Yeah, it was in
50s,
50s.
something?"
Yeah. Well, I think it
And
was 57 because it was the
Yeah,
year
yeah,
before
before.
the two
they died.
counselors.
So in
Yeah.
'57, he was a camper, and you counselors were supposed to be watching him,
Mhm.
and you didn't.
Yeah, because
Mhm.
there was a couple that went off, and they were
Yeah.
they
So
were
he-
at it.
Yeah.
like,
While Jason was
while
swimming.
Jason was
Yeah.
swimming, and so she likened it to them.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, and she's like, you let him drown.
Yeah,
Like,
you let him
you-
drown.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
did this.
You.
And then we see this, again, throughout this kind of back and forth, we're kind of just talking about like the whole end of the movie, her switch
Yes.
between being Mrs. Voorhees and being Jason.
Yes.
Yes.
Because you can see it. It's like her face changes.
And they
Mhm.
You
zoom
see it
in.
in her
Her
eyes.
voice. Her
Like,
voice changes.
Yeah, when they do
Yeah.
it, they like really zoom in on her face.
yes.
Mhm.
Like, I swear they like kind of cut, like
Uh-huh.
they're so
It's a
close,
very up
you
close.
can't see
Yes.
at the bottom of her chin or at the top
Yes.
of her forehead. They like zoom in, and it's like, kill them, mommy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like, Mommy, kill them, mommy.
So creepy.
She's saying this,
Right.
Like, yeah,
But as though it's not her, it's,
It's
actually
Jason.
Jason through her.
telling
It's
her
so
what
good.
to do.
It's so
Yeah.
good.
Yes.
So there's a whole, again, back and forth, chasing back and forth between the two. But I think let's just go straight to the end
Mm-hmm.
of this battle.
Yes.
Oh,
Where we are by the dock.
Well, because it really throws us for a fucking loop. Yes, we're by the dock.
Alice is kind of in her like, oh, I'm relieved I made it through, because she thinks she at least
she
hurt
thinks she
her.
got her.
hurt
she's
her
like a
enough.
little sad by
Yeah.
the dog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then we see the shadow.
We see the shadow.
Of a person approaching her, and we get the final fight.
Yes.
Brianna, do you want to say what happens?
Yeah, you see the arm raised.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right? Because she's holding the
Yeah.
knife.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And, I mean, this all happened so fast.
Mhm.
This happened so fast, but it was just a straight up decapitation
Yes.
of Miss Voorhees.
Full decapitation.
Like, there was a little back and forth, but basically Alice got the knife and just fully decapitated.
No,
Decapitated.
that's exactly what it
Yep.
was.
And at this point, Sippers, while we're in the theater, as soon as she gets decapitated, everyone started cheering.
The crowd
Yeah,
went
no, the
wild.
crowd
crowd
actually
went wild.
Like,
It
we
was
started
amazing.
cheering,
No, they did.
crying, laughing.
It was one of my favorite moments of my life
It
so
was
far.
so
Like, it was
fun.
so much fun.
It was
It
so
was
fun.
So much fun.
I
Like,
wish I would have taken a picture of you, like, on the edge of your seat,
Yes, I
like,
literally
losing
was.
your shit.
No, you guys, I really
It was so
like, I
good.
was so
it was so
invested
good.
in this movie. Like, and I was like clutching
No, you
Yeah.
were.
my metaphorical pearls. I wasn't wearing any, but I was like
What?
clutching my pearls. Like, it was so good.
It was so good. It was so good.
And then immediately following this, we get another big crowd reaction,
This
which
is
is
my favorite scene.
Alice. Alice has won. She has survived.
Yes.
She is the final survivor.
Yes.
And she is. Her thought says, "I'm just going to get on this little boat
Yep. She
and
gets in
go
a
out into
canoe.
the lake, get on this little canoe,
Yep.
and go." But I mean, she used the oar to protect herself,
Mhm.
right? So she gets to the canoe, and she gets in the canoe, and her hand just kind of comes out, and she just like not even with her forearm, it's just kind of like a little
Her
hand
fingers.
Just her
flick
fingers.
in
Kind
the
of.
water to paddle out into the ocean.
Like, okay.
Not the ocean, the lake.
Yes.
Yes.
Little
Like,
hand.
okay, so imagine you're sitting on a couch and a cat walks by you that is like just beyond your reach. Like, you can touch its back,
Oh
but barely. How would you pet that cat?
Just like this.
That's what Alice did
Yes.
to paddle herself out into the
Yes.
middle of the water. Just this
Oh
little,
my
like,
God.
meh.
Yes.
Like, it was
That's
my
it.
favorite. It was my favorite
It
scene in
was
the whole
so
movie.
funny.
Uh-huh.
The entire theater, I
Was
think,
laughing.
we
was
erupted.
No,
cackling.
they all were.
Like, it was so
It was
funny to
a
see her
beautiful
little
moment.
just little
No,
hand
it was
fills
amazing.
out to the lake.
It was a beautiful moment.
So we see Alice go out to the middle of the lake and fall asleep because obviously
She's
she was
exhausted.
fighting for her
Yeah,
life.
yeah.
And we're at the end of the movie. She's falling asleep, but she wakes up. It's now sunrise.
Mhm.
She's probably made it to the other side of the lake.
Mhm.
We see the cop waiting at the other side, calling out to her.
Yep.
And it's like, all right.
Yep.
That's
We're
the
done.
end of the
We've
movie.
made it.
And the lake waters are still, right?
Yes,
it's like
still
smooth
waters. Yes.
sailing.
Yes.
And then
Jason
comes
This
out of the
creature.
jumps out of the
water.
water.
He jumps out. Like, she's just sitting there. It's all so peaceful. And then all of a sudden, boom.
I like screamed, I think.
Oh, no, we all did.
I full jump. No, like you could. It was a full jump. It was
No,
like, oh,
we all did. All of a sudden, this, like, Jason, who I think in the movie is supposed to have been a kid that
But
died.
this was a full
This
man.
was a full
right?
grown man.
That
It was
was
a
a full
full
man.
grown man.
that
but-
was a full like creature
Yes.
from the Black Lagoon.
And
that
he
had come out
seemed
together.
like burned or something.
Yes, like a burn victim.
Anyway.
He was in the swampy lake.
No, he was like a burn victim, but
Anyway,
a grown man.
He grabs her from behind,
Oh
just
my God.
brings her into the water,
Yeah,
and we're like,
it was
she's
so
toast.
back and
She's toast.
It
She's
was
so toast.
good.
And then
It was
she just
so good.
wakes up
Mm-hmm.
in a hospital bed.
Mhm.
At first,
And-
when she did that, I was like, oh my God, none of this happened.
That's what I thought.
Oh, you thought it was, they were
Yes.
going to be the Oath's dream.
No,
Yes.
that's exact.
That's what I thought. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is like Nightmare on Elm Street.
Thing
Yep.
was going to be a dream.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So it really like threw me for a loop because I was
Yeah.
like, oh shit, like
But I do like that how at the end she's like asking like, oh, wait, is everyone dead? Like she's
Mhm.
kind of checking in, and then she doesn't ask about Mrs. Voorhees.
right,
She's like, did you find the boy?
right.
Jason.
Did you find Jason? Which I don't know. I love that. I
There
love
is
that it
no
was like,
boy.
wait, did you find Jason?
I know.
Like,
Mhm.
oh,
She knows because she knows it's really
Yes.
him
yep,
all along.
So
That's-
good.
yeah.
Yep.
And then when that's it, right?
That's it.
When
That's
the movie
it.
ended, the audience applauded
We just,
again.
we
Everyone
clapped.
Which I love.
It was
Clapped,
actually
we
fun.
No, I
cheered. It
loved
was-
that.
it was
It was
beautiful.
perfect.
It was a
such a
beautiful
vibe.
moment.
It was.
so
It was
so
such a
good.
vibe.
Yeah, if any Spooky Sippers, if any theaters are playing it near you, go watch
Yes,
it.
it was
This
so
was
much
actually
fun.
really fun
That's really
to
fun.
watch with other people.
Yes.
I honestly think my rating of this movie would have been different had I watched it just at home by
I do
myself.
too.
Yep.
Like this, like
Completely
very
contributed.
different. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I completely
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah.
So, is this a good time to get into a little bit of psych?
Side segment.
Let's get into some psych.
All right, kids. Remember, she's not a real doctor, but it's okay because they're not real people.
No,
That is correct.
They might have been real snakes, but they're not real people.
Oh,
That is true.
why'd you have to bring that up?
Sorry.
We just want to talk about
Too
that
soon.
part.
And just as they are not real people and I'm not a real psychologist, I did not really have any time to do any prep.
Nope.
No, this
just
is live.
watched this.
We watched this and then we came home. So, the first thing that came to my mind is not so much as like, I'm going to talk about the science of psychology,
Mhm.
but I wanted to get into your psyches.
Oh gosh.
So here's what came to my
Mhm,
mind, and I'll
okay,
explain
mhm.
to you why.
Mhm.
I want to know if either of you have camp stories. So here's why.
Mhm.
As they're in camp, they're singing their little Alleluia song,
Right.
Yeah.
and then the couple sneaks away
Mhm.
to go have their like little like
Mhm.
romantic session, and it made me think of my camp story. So I'll tell my camp story first.
Okay.
So that then if either of you have a camp
I'm ready
story,
for
you can
this.
tell it.
Yeah.
This is
Yes.
not so much psych as it is just, gossip.
Oh, yeah.
No, I love
yeah.
it.
But
Love it.
I think that one of the silly things about me is
Mhm.
I'm not a religious person, and people that know me know this, but my very first kiss ever was at church camp.
Oh my gosh.
So I was 15 and I go to church camp and I was like,
you were 15 for your first kiss?
yeah,
Ooh.
yeah, I was
old.
a late bloomer.
What
Yeah.
a loser.
Oh, for sure. Oh, for sure. It didn't take me long. 15 to like first kiss to like full.
That's true.
Yeah,
That's true.
It was a
That's
quick-
true.
It was
You
a
didn't mess
quick
around once
journey.
you got started.
So I was more like a sprint.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Um,
sprint.
yeah.
But anyway, yes, I was a late bloomer.
Okay,
I was-
sorry.
so I was very, very shy as a kid, and so
Yeah.
like I had a really hard time making friends and
Mhm.
like getting attention from boys. But I went to this church camp and I met this boy, and I liked him so much, and he liked me so much.
This is too cute.
And here's how I knew that like I liked this boy so much, and he probably will never listen to this podcast.
Who knows?
Our
But
number one fan, actually.
yeah,
yeah.
it could be.
Brandon, if you're hearing this, you know who you are. So we danced to Michael Jackson, you guys. This is how I knew that this boy was the boy for
oh
me.
my God,
Someone
it's
who knows
over.
you, I think we know how much that means.
Right?
It means so much.
Yes.
So we go out into the fields because there was like
Fields.
stars out. So like
Out
we're
to
like
the field.
so instead of like being in bed in our like bunks, like we like snuck out to the fields at church camp and we're like looking up at the stars and like we were just like holding hands and it was very romantic. And
So
he was like, "Do you want me to
sweet.
kiss
Too
you? Are
much.
you sure?" And anyway, that was my first kiss was at church camp.
That's actually really cute, though.
That is cute.
So as I'm watching this movie about murders and killers and camp, I was like having like a real sense of romanticism and like nostalgia.
Cute.
Oh.
So that's my camp story.
I love that.
That is such a cute story. I like didn't do camp in that I'm honestly really jealous. Like this
It
sounds
was so.
like,
It was actually
I feel
amazing.
like it's such a like big part of child. Like the only camp I did was like I would do it for like soccer. So like it was like a sport camp. So we would
yeah, mine wasn't that.
like an all women, like all all women. We would go and we'd stay at the local university, and we would just train from like morning to afternoon, and we would watch soccer during the afternoon
Nice.
and eat healthy.
That is not as fun of a story.
And learn to run faster.
All right. Now
So I'm very jealous.
Okay,
nice.
I'm
All
very
right.
jealous. That
All
sounds really cute, and I'm sad that I missed out on the camp experience.
Mhm.
I mean, you have other cute moments,
Mhm.
Yeah,
so it's
I
fine.
learned how
It's
to
just
kind
not
of run.
camp. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Don't
all
worry,
right.
I don't run very well to this
Yeah.
day. So the camps worked really
Real worth it.
well.
Yeah.
Real worth
Thanks,
it.
Mom and Dad, for paying for those.
Yay.
Yeah.
Yay. Do you have any fun camp stories or no?
Yeah, so listeners, what do we call them?
Sippers?
Sippers.
Readers,
Readers. We do call them readers sometimes.
viewers, I don't know.
Readers. This is a good chance for you to get to know us a little bit better.
Mhm.
If you didn't know this, Laura and I are sisters,
Yes.
and we are as stereotypically sisters as you can get.
Mm,
When you think like sweet and wholesome,
that's me.
that's her. When you think like the
Dark.
one that was like fucking around,
That's
was me.
Brianna. Yeah.
so that camp that Laura just told you a story about,
You went to the same one.
a few years later, I
few
went to
one-
the few,
one.
yeah, the same one, but a few years later,
Uh-huh.
I was the kid where I had my first cigarette there.
Did you light fire to it?
No fires. I was
To the whole camp.
To the whole camp.
There were no camps after.
I was 12. I was 12, but I learned how to smoke there
Okay.
Oh,
because
wow.
I didn't know how before.
There was no smoking.
I couldn't like figure out like how to light mine, and so they gave me a hard time for it.
Mhm.
But they taught me how, and I drank for the first time there too.
Oh wow.
So I had a really good time
they
at
didn't
camp.
do like a cigarette and alcohol checks on these 12-year-olds.
I definitely did not have that at mine. I'm sure probably some did, but not. I don't think so. We were just dancing to Michael Jackson,
Well,
kissing
that
in
was
the
you.
fields.
That was
you.
Laura's experience. Mine was a little darker.
It was a different time.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. All
So
right.
that was my camp story.
So that's just to give you all. I'm going to leave this now to you, sippers, to psychoanalyze each of us.
Yes.
Also, if you have any cute or
Camp
scary
stories.
camp stories,
Or
or honestly,
share them.
any camp
No,
stories,
seriously.
let me vicariously enjoy, fear,
Yes.
read this through.
We want to hear
Please
them
share.
all.
Share. Please,
Yes, and if
please
you're
share
okay
your
with
camp
us
stories.
sharing it, we will absolutely
Yes,
share it.
Absolutely. Yes, please do.
Yes.
Please do. All right, so now I'm going to do a very, very quick and dirty psych segment.
Love.
Okay.
Love.
So first, we're going to talk about the fear of the number 13, which is triskaidekaphobia.
That sounds right.
Triskaidekaphobia.
Mhm.
So a little bit of background into why the fear of 13 is a thing. So historically, the number 12 is considered complete. So when you have 12 of something, you're done. Like that's
Mhm.
complete.
Huh.
So like a dozen eggs, for example. Think
Right.
of that. Like if you have a dozen eggs or a dozen donuts and then you get an extra one, like that's like, it just feels awkward,
That's a
right? Like
baker's
that's
dozen.
bad. Well, baker's dozen. Okay, fine.
But like, why?
Well, so it actually goes back to biblical times.
Oh,
Like
okay.
all
So,
Of
like,
course.
think about Jesus and his 12 disciples.
Oh, damn it.
Any
Jesus.
more than that is bad,
Yeah.
right?
You get what's his face? There.
Judas.
Yep.
Yeah,
That
exactly.
son of a
Oh my
bitch.
Exactly. Also, like,
What's his face?
What's his name? That son of a bitch. Judas.
hell out of here, Judas. Lots of times when executions happened, how many steps did it take to get to the gallows?
Was it 13?
It was 13.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just historically
Okay.
been considered unlucky. But also, more than the triskaidekaphobia is the paraskivedikatriophobia. Did I
That
say it
sounds right.
Yes.
I think I
To
said it
me,
right,
I think that
right.
sounds.
Yes, I do.
as close
I
as
practiced
anyone
it like
said.
I
8
think that
times.
was correct.
So that is not just the fear of 13. That is fear of Friday the 13th.
Okay. Okay.
So, in addition to 13 being considered unlucky because of, the gallows and
Mhm.
12 is complete, so 13 is too many. Also, Friday is bad, especially when it's on the 13th because, again, biblical times, Jesus died on a Friday, you guys.
Oh,
I didn't know that.
I didn't
Yeah.
know that either. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like Good Friday? Or no, wait. I don't know. Google says he's died on a Friday, so we're gonna go with
that probably is Good Friday. That is Good Friday.
No, Good Friday is when he came back to life.
No, it's not. Also, we should say, sippers, that Laura and I are daughters of a priest.
Oh, yeah,
Don't
so we should know.
think about
So we
it.
should know what
Oh
the
no,
fork
he
we're
did die
talking
on
about.
Friday. He came back to Earth
No,
on Sunday,
You know,
Easter.
you
That's
both-
what
you
Easter
both
is.
just talked about Jesus camp.
Yes.
You went to.
I was busy kissing boys.
I was busy.
Smoking.
I was drunk.
Oh, I was falling in love for the first
Yeah, I was
time.
drunk, so I don't know what was happening.
Oh, I was kissing boys in the field under the stars. Oh no, you're right. Yeah, Jesus died on
No,
Friday.
Good
He
Friday
came back.
is definitely when
No.
Jesus died.
Okay.
Why
yeah.
do they call it Good Friday if
the
that's
whole
when he
thing. Ask
died?
Dad.
All
I don't
right.
know.
Well,
Okay.
I don't want to talk about that.
Yeah.
This is not Jesus camp. We never said we were. What's the?
Religious?
No, not like I'm thinking of like the term for like people who study religion. Is there a term for that?
Theologians?
Theologians. We never said we were.
We did not.
All right. So, some stats for you.
Love it.
Nearly 8% of people in the United States are paraskevedicatreophobes.
So, sorry, is that the fear of 13 or Friday the 13th?
Friday the 13th.
That's higher than I would expect.
Me too.
Right?
That's
Me too.
actually higher.
That's
Me too,
actually
yeah.
kind of high.
Mhm.
So here's how you know. Here are some symptoms of paraskevedicatreophobia. It's very similar to a panic attack. So you could have hyperventilation, a rapid heart rate,
Mhm.
like feeling like you're having a heart attack or your heart is going too fast.
yeah.
Nervous giggling,
Oh.
lightheadedness or dizziness.
Mhm.
Big symptom that lets you know this is not just a panic attack, but actually the fear of Friday the 13th.
Mhm.
Refusing to leave the home on
Oh.
Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
Or like you find excuses, you cry, you scream. Basically, you throw a temper tantrum.
Right.
You're
Yeah.
not going to leave.
Mm-hmm.
If you indulge in ritualistic behavior, so like you hang you hang your shoes outside the window to repel evil. Now, I thought that was a sign drugs are sold here. I thought, when you see shoes.
Yeah, over the
Thought
telephone
that.
pole, sneakers.
Mhm.
on a
So
telephone
Google
pole.
tells me if you hang your shoes outside the window to repel evil or eat
Well, it's a-
garlic.
Window, not
Yeah,
power
window.
line.
The power line is a different thing than a window.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true.
What?
Some say those are different.
Some say that a window and a power line are not actually the same thing.
Used to say.
A power line can be outside a window, though. They could hang the shoes
That's what
on
I'm
the power
thinking.
line outside the window.
Shoes, just hang shoes up. It's
Are you okay?
moving on. Eating garlic. I thought that was for vampires.
Yeah, well,
Or-
I guess evil spirit. I don't know.
Or if you like walk around the room 13 times. Or if you just have thoughts of death or dying that continually play through your mind.
Oh,
So, the concept of Friday the 13th,
Uh-huh.
was that a real thing before this movie?
Yes.
Yes.
So, this movie is not.
no.
Yes. So
It's
back
not-
this is
Yeah,
this is
okay.
basically coming from back from biblical times, like
Mhm.
in antiquity,
In
as we learned
antiquity,
in a
yes.
previous episode. So Jesus having more than 13, because 12 historically since in antiquity
Okay.
has been like that's complete, and anything
Mhm.
beyond that is
Yep.
considered unlucky.
Yes.
So it actually leads to like real life things.
Right.
Like one thing that really grinds my gears is like you go to a hotel and there's all the levels and it's like, oh, go to floors 1, 2, 3, blah, 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 all the way up to 12. And then it's like 14, 16, 18.
Mhm.
And I'm like, who the hell are you kidding? Floor 14 is the 13th floor.
Well, I think it helps some people, though.
Or like when planes don't have a 13th
Yeah.
aisle.
Yeah.
Like
Mhm.
people won't that blows my mind
Mhm.
that like people play into this fake fear, not fake fear because it's a real
Yeah.
fear for people, but it's a fake threat.
See, whereas, like, I am, like, the opposite of you,
Mhm.
and I'm like, you have to respect
Yeah.
that. Like,
You're a little stitious.
I think
You're not superstitious.
Yeah,
Just a
I think
little
everyone
stitious.
should be stitious.
Yes. But like 13
No,
is not something that's going to cause you harm.
I 100% think it is, and I disagree with you.
So
Like,
you have
I would not sit
So you
on
have
the
tris-
13th aisle.
Godecaphobia. I would absolutely
Just
prefer
13. Yeah.
the 13th aisle. Like I
That's
want to
pretty high.
laugh.
That's pretty far in the front,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah, so we are very opposites.
I think you have to respect it.
Huh.
I think
It is kind of surprising, though, where it's like, oh, hotels will just kind of like
pretend it
skip
doesn't
it,
exist.
or airlines will skip
Yeah.
it. Like that's
But see-
a really big step for like a lot of people to just accept
Right.
that that's okay. Like I can't really think of another example of something
Yeah, that's true.
that's kind of that
Mhm.
big, where it's like this is ultimately just a superstition.
Mhm.
Not that people don't believe in them or believe in
Right.
the effects of it, but it is mostly a superstition. And it's crazy how big of an impact
Yes.
that has actually had.
I have since closed my browser, but at some point I looked up the financial implication of what the fear of 13
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
Friday the 13th especially, but
Mhm.
even just 13 in general, the amount of financial ramifications and how much it costs is wild. Like it costs a lot of money to cater to this fear that
Huh.
people have.
Oh, yeah.
To like make different numbers or to like
Mhm.
appease that there's no 13, even though when you just count, there's 13. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But just saying it's not 13th.
right.
helps.
Like,
Yeah.
apparently.
Yeah.
Apparently. So,
Yeah.
and then I really have like the most half-ass version. So we'll probably do this in another episode just because like this is the most ridiculous, unprepared psych I've ever done.
That's okay.
Talking about revenge. Because I feel like that is what Mrs. Voorhees
Yes.
was like. Her and Jason is all about revenge.
Totally.
So
Yeah.
he died.
Mm-hmm.
So she felt the need to then punish those
Mhm.
who, even if they were not responsible, she
Yes.
was going to say is responsible because she
Yes.
felt the need.
Yes.
So, really, revenge is just this urge to get retribution for an injustice.
Mm-hmm.
This can be a real or it can be a perceived injustice.
Yeah.
And it's
okay.
really just like you want to punish.
Right.
Yeah.
But here's the problem. So this happens mostly the personality type that feel the need to get revenge are people that are narcissistic
Mm-hmm.
and vindictive.
That makes
Because it's a
sense.
way of seeking control. Okay, so someone's done you wrong, so now you feel the need to seek control upon them. But the problem with that is no matter what you do, and I'm sorry to tell you, Spooky Sippers and everyone else, you can never control anyone else. You just can't. Like, no matter how much you want to, you cannot control other people.
Yeah.
So instead of it actually appeasing and like making your anger get better,
Right.
it actually not only does it make it worse, it just leads to this like vicious cycle. So there's actually been studies of people who have had something wrong done to them, and those that kind of just can let it go versus those that seek revenge. The ones that seek revenge are markedly like unhappier
Hmm.
and angrier, and like so if you try to seek revenge and want to seek revenge, you're making it worse on yourself.
But like, what is it about us that makes us want to do that? Like, why
Yeah.
as humans
Because we all understand.
are we driven
revenge.
to like? Because
yeah.
here's the thing. Like, I have to say, I always was like, revenge is such a ridiculous concept. Like,
Mhm.
I would never want that, and I've lived most of my life like that. But I had something happen to someone I know, and I understood
Mhm.
finally being like, I want to get that motherfucker back. Like,
Yes.
I got it. So, like, what is it about humans?
It's actually a very simple explanation.
Mhm.
So the reason for that is that we think it is going to give us this temporary feeling of reward or like this
Ah.
momentary satisfaction. So like, all right, you feel, for example, you
Mhm.
have a craving for a sweet. So you go eat that sweet.
Mhm.
In that moment,
Mhm.
it's going to make you feel, oh, I did the thing I wanted to do and it feels good.
Yes.
So even though you might think, okay, this like retribution, revenge is going to feel good in the moment, it actually, not only does it not give you even that momentary satisfaction,
Yeah.
it actually prevents you from healing, because instead of being able to heal and move past it, it keeps you in that thought process
Yeah,
of
you're, like,
thinking about the thing that's
stuck
bad.
in that perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it doesn't give you that momentary satisfaction. It keeps you
Yeah.
in this loop,
I
and
see that.
it actually creates this kind of like vicious cycle, or what I wrote down, it creates a cycle of bad juju, basically.
No, I can see
Yeah.
that, actually. I get that.
So revenge is one of those fascinating things because everyone can understand the need for it, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think anyone can at least understand why someone would want revenge.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, we all at least understand.
Yeah.
And I've had a craving for it.
Not
You've had a
even-
craving
yeah,
for it.
Not
Like
even agree, but understand for sure.
I think
Yeah.
everyone has
Oh,
a personal experience of thinking like, something bad happened to me. I want to get this revenge on someone.
Mm-hmm.
But what's really the studies show is that revenge, not only does it not make things better,
Mm-hmm.
it
Right.
makes things worse.
Yeah.
I can see that.
Mhm.
So really, Jason is just screwed for
Yeah.
He's
he's not gonna
doomed.
heal.
he's doomed for eternity to
Yeah.
live this cycle of bad juju of
Aw.
just,
Yeah.
wanting this satisfaction and never getting it,
Yeah.
because it's just going to prevent him from healing.
Yeah.
So that is my quick and dirty psych.
No, that's good.
That was
I love it.
amazing.
Yeah. Mhm.
So
I'm totally here for it.
Mhm, mhm.
So, talking about Jason, and I guess we could have talked about this when we were talking about the movie too, but it is kind of funny how Jason in the mask with the hockey jersey is our idea
See,
of Jason.
okay, so I was gonna ask.
Mhm.
Like I was gonna ask what
That's movie number 3.
What is it? Like how does this work?
So here's, I think this is kind of a product of our age, because I even thought of Friday the 13th is Jason,
Yes.
but
Yeah.
really the original Friday the 13th is the mom,
Yep.
is Mrs. Voorhees. And I think not only does this speak to a bit of like our product of our time, but it speaks to the fucking patriarchy, ladies. We don't think of this sweet little soccer mom haircut.
Yes.
Wait, why do I call her sweet? She's not sweet. She's a
not
fucking
sweet.
monster. But like, what we don't think of the woman, we think of this like man.
mess.
He is the
Really
default.
No,
cocky guy,
you're right. Like
yeah.
I even just pulled it up on Google and I'm looking at it like
Yeah.
to see who he is, and like we do think of him way more than we think of her.
Which
but
in all of the subsequent movies, he does become a bigger character.
Oh, no,
I
he
will
does.
give them that.
Yeah.
So
Right.
like he becomes the
Right.
face of it.
Yeah.
But originally,
Mm-hmm.
it was her.
she was the
Yeah.
villain.
Which is just kind of
So where's the hockey mask come from?
that movie number 3.
Now I get confused
Shit, I
because
think I gotta watch these
didn't
movies.
Mike Myers wear a hockey mask? What? I thought Mike Myers
No,
wore the.
that's-
Who when I pull
Like
it up?
that's who I imagine. Yeah, it's like the white mask with
Why
like,
are their
holes
masks so
cut out.
similar?
I don't know. They look kind of similar.
Wait, pull up Mike Myers. Does he look the same?
Let's get all our horror
Sorry, Spooky
heroes.
Super.
Yeah, it's
Like,
not
that's
the
fucking
hockey
same.
mask.
No, that
Same.
is different. His is more.
I'm
Michael
guessing.
Myers is like a full face,
No,
like
but
full
it
over
totally-
the head, whereas Jason is like only
The actual
the
hockey
front.
mask.
I'm guessing
Hockey
at
mask.
some point we will learn that
Yeah.
Jason is a hockey player.
Yeah.
No.
So, and I feel like I know where you guys are going to go with it, but I guess the movie, when they filmed it without knowing which ending they were going to go with.
Oh.
One option was the ending we got, which is Mrs. Voorhees being the killer. The other option was Jason.
Oh.
That was the other, and they didn't really know what they were going to go with until the end.
Interesting.
So,
my God.
which do you like? Are you happy with the direction they went? Do you wish they would have gone the other way?
I personally love the direction they went, and here's why. because I feel like Mrs. Voorhees is a distinct entity and her time is limited.
Mm-hmm.
So use her while you can,
Yes.
because eventually then she will die, and now you have this monster in the lake. Because they used both,
Mm-hmm.
right? So they had her being the killer on the land while Jason was kind of controlling her, and now they can have him come out of the water and do all the
Yeah.
killings. I actually think it makes a lot of sense, and I like that they used the mom, because that was, for me, one of my favorite parts of this movie was that it's this like soccer mom with like a Karen haircut.
Yeah.
Like, she is not what you would expect as a killer, and I love that they did that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I love it.
I have to like 100% agree.
Yeah.
Like
Mhm.
everything that you just said. Like I'm the same way. I'm so glad that it's hers.
Mhm.
And like I also have to say, like, I love the way that they like unveiled who it was.
Yes. Yeah. Mhm.
Because even like as we learn her story, like it wasn't over dramatic. Like
No.
I mean, yes, it was dramatic, but it wasn't like
Yeah. Yeah. And
overly
the like oh,
cheesy.
yeah.
And I like the way that it like unraveled for us, that how we learned that she became the killer. Like
Yeah.
I loved that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I completely agree, and I kind of thought you guys would agree too.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's part of, and I think today it wouldn't be as much of a surprise just because we have seen so many horror movies and so many more have come out. But
Mhm.
especially for 1980, I think a big thing that this movie does well is kind of surprise the audience with some
Yes.
things. And I think having the killer not be an adult man or actually Jason who's come out of the lake to kill, I think it was actually an interesting way
Yes.
Yes.
to look at it. And
Yes.
I think it was one thing, it was more human, right?
Yes.
Because it wasn't the creature from the lagoon coming to kill them.
Completely.
It was a mom who
Yes.
was hurt
Mm-hmm.
because in her mind, the counselors are the reason her son is dead. And
Yes.
so counselors are evil people.
Right.
You know,
She's
like,
going for that
it is
revenge.
human revenge and human
Mhm.
trauma.
And I love like she makes it seem logical.
Yeah.
And she makes it seam straightforward. Like, well,
Yeah.
of course. Like,
Mhm.
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
No, I love it.
So I'm happy
Love
they
it.
went the way that they did. And I guess the director of this first movie refused to direct the next movies because he did not like the idea of bringing Jason back
I see.
Really?
and turning him into the killer. That
Now
we now
I've
know.
never seen them, so like I actually now
yeah,
want
now
to go see them.
I'm
Like,
honestly trying to.
I'm like I think I need to go watch them.
Yeah.
So
Well, see, this surprises me because the end of the movie has Jason come out of the lake
Mm-hmm.
and try to kill Alice. So I feel like they went out of their way to introduce Jason as this thing that was real and could kill.
Mhm.
Well,
So it's weird that they didn't.
we don't know if that was real.
Oh, maybe she was imagining it.
Mhm.
You
Yeah.
think?
All we know is that she was asleep on the lake, and then she woke up. Like
yeah, they found
we
her.
had the jump scare, and then her waking up in the
Yes,
hospital.
Because
We
they
don't
did.
know-
They did show her getting the confession from the mom as to why the mom was doing it right
Yes.
before
Right.
she got decapitated.
Yeah, so
Exactly.
like we
Oh,
don't
shit.
know.
there was absolutely a world in which Jason never
Never
came back.
existed. It was
That
only the
was
mom.
That was
Yes.
a nightmare she had while in the hospital.
Well, and
Oh my
didn't she talk
God.
about having nightmares?
I
Was
think
she the
did-
one that?
Oh shoot!
Or am I like totally
Oh,
misremembering?
she might have.
But
She
wasn't
may have
there
been.
a character that was like
Shoot,
had nightmares
I'm
as a
not
kid?
remembering this.
I mean, it could be. I
could
don't
be.
remember. But
This is late night spooky Sims.
I know,
Guys,
and
also-
we've had some wine.
also, I feel like we need to be drunker for this. This was supposed to be our drunk episode. I realized I said supposed with like 4 more S's than
yeah,
I
I
was supposed
said
to.
a few words wrong.
I feel like we're holding ourselves together though. Like,
We're
I-
just so
I was fully
We are,
expecting
like,
a
let it go,
poltergeist.
man.
Like
I think I need
moment.
to go listen to our poltergeist episode.
Our poltergeist was so
you know,
good.
Sippers, you should know that we were at a bar a few hours ago, and we were just crying.
We were just
Yeah, we
crying
all
in the
cried.
bar, y'all.
We were all
just
crying in the
crying.
bar. So
It was a beautiful moment.
It was actually
It was beautiful. So we were ready to come and let loose with all the tears.
It's been a real day.
I just honestly, I think like it's just a solid choice. Like,
So one is that this movie was very heavily inspired by John Carpenter's Halloween.
Yes.
which had come out 2
Oh,
years
yes.
earlier.
I got that.
Hence the reason for us being confused by the villains because they look the
Yes.
friggin' same.
Well,
Okay.
just even like
So-
some of the camera angles.
Yeah,
I'm like, ooh, that
for sure.
feels
For
familiar.
And
sure.
like the setup,
Yeah.
yeah.
And the way they find the bodies, like, yeah.
It was
okay.
very similar.
Okay, yeah.
Honestly, though, it was still great.
Yes.
The movie was shot on a budget of like $500,000, but it would go on to gross $39 million.
Nice.
Wow.
So it did very well
Wow.
for
Nice.
itself. I think it was one of the most profitable horror movies
Well,
that has ever been made. We've talked about the big ones, like Blair Witch being made on
Mhm.
$5 and making a gazillion. But
Yeah.
this was definitely up there
okay.
in terms of return on investment. The film was originally going to be called The Long Night,
What?
Why?
but they decided to change it to Friday the 13th to make it more marketable.
Oh my gosh, I am so glad they did
That was a good
because
move.
it's
Like, what would that
Yeah.
even? The long night. Like,
Which-
I mean, I guess
It does actually. It takes
takes a
place
long time.
over one night.
Yeah, it is
the
a long
whole
night.
movie is,
That's true.
but and I guess like honestly, after I read that, I kind of realized like we find out that it's Jason's birthday on the 13th, and I guess it
Happenstance.
just so happens to land on a Friday.
Right.
I think that was honestly really smart of them because it doesn't really have anything to do with
No,
Friday the
it doesn't.
13th.
No, it
Right.
doesn't.
Other than they decided that his birthday would land on a Friday
Right.
for whatever year it was supposed to take place in. That was genius marketing.
It was.
That was
I guess.
the superstition already
yeah.
existed, and they
Well,
were like,
'cause we're
let's
taught-
capitalize.
I mean, we just talked about
On
like
it.
how much it's just been a
Right.
thing. People are
Mhm.
afraid of There's a freaking name for it.
Right.
That's what it's called.
So I think that was honestly a genius move.
Like, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
It's very
to
smart.
take something and now it is so heavily associated with that movie.
Oh, yeah.
Like when you think Friday the 13th, you have to think Jason.
Well, no, I mean, right. And I hadn't even seen the movie in my entire life. That's what I
And that's
thought
what you
of
think
when I
of.
heard Friday the 13th.
So
But
honestly,
Jason, like,
so smart.
Right.
Yeah, brilliant.
And honestly, I guess again, maybe they took a little bit of influence from John Carpenter's Halloween, right?
right.
Name it after something famous
Right.
that already exists.
Yes.
The film was shot at an actual camp
Oh,
called Nobibosco.
okay.
Nobibosco?
Nobibosco. It's like separate by hyphens.
Oh, yeah, no B Bosco.
Nobibosco,
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Weird.
which is a real summer camp in New Jersey and is still in operation today.
Oh my God.
And offers tours related to
Well,
the film.
we're going.
Add it
so
to the
that's
Spooky
going
Sips
to
tour.
happen.
You
We need
guys,
to
we
go
could go
there.
kiss people at the camp.
What?
My summer camp story.
I know, but what?
Well, why do we have to do that?
I don't want to go kiss people.
Why
Can I go
not?
snow?
Random
No.
camp in New Jersey.
Not random. You have to have a moment.
One thing I looked up because I forget where. No, it's when the owner of the camp is driving with the cop. Because there was a police officer who said something about how crime is higher during a full moon.
Yeah.
I looked it up.
Right.
That is, for some reason, I want to say unfortunately, not true.
Right.
Oh, okay.
They've
Okay.
taken actual statistics.
Right. I
And
had a
have
feeling.
found that there is no relation at all.
Yeah, I had
and
a feeling.
anything that says otherwise is usually very
Yeah.
biased
Yeah.
in the way that they create that. So,
Mhm.
unfortunately,
Right.
they
Yep.
were wrong in
Yep.
the movie.
Yep.
And honestly, there's so many fun facts, but those are the ones that
No,
I
no,
wanted
I
to
mean,
share.
yes, no.
This
Yep.
is already
Yep.
a long episode.
Yep.
Well, because we're drunk.
It's fine.
And by we, I mean me.
Yes.
That cocktail was something else, man.
Yeah, we're just going to move on from the cocktail
Yeah.
that was offered to us.
Anyway.
We're now just drinking boxed wines.
Yeah, we
Spooky
are.
sippers, so just do that.
Do.
Okay,
With
let's
this
do a
time
little
in
bit of
history?
this time in history.
1980, it's got to be a
Well,
great
I am
year.
ready.
It's got to be a great year.
What's going on?
How was the Berlin
In
Wall doing?
1980 What?
I don't know. I just think of the 80s. I think
Let's just start with the Berlin Wall.
was it up? Was it down? Like, what's going on?
Oh my God.
You're welcome
what?
to search that separately. That is
What is
not in
happening?
my history.
I think it came down in like 85, so it's probably still up.
Please go ahead and check that.
I don't
Okay.
even know what the point of it was. So
But, you know, it's very segregational.
We are not a history podcast. I'm not getting into the Berlin Wall. and its ups and downs.
All right, I'm sorry I brought it up.
In bad news, and I think you've been able to see it this whole trip, Mount St. Helens erupted
Oh,
on May 18th
yeah.
of 1980, killing 57 people, which is so scary to think about. The
Yeah, it's
idea
right
of that,
here.
and that was in like 1980. Like that is not long ago. This
No.
was like dinosaur age, a volcano.
No,
erupted.
this was 1980.
That was 20 years
not that
ago.
long ago.
1980. There
Um,
was look at Mount Hood. It looks like that,
yeah.
and then it just exploded, and now it looks like that.
I realize we are a spooky movie podcast, and this is not necessarily a spooky movie.
Mhm.
Have you seen the movie Dante's Peak?
Oh yes.
Oh
yes.
my God, that's the best.
Because
movie
isn't that
ever.
basically about Mount St. Helen? Like, I think they pretend it's not.
Right,
But
but
isn't
But
it
it's
that
like,
is,
oh yeah.
like, I think that's
Can we do that movie?
oh,
Because
it's
that's
so
amazing.
good. Such a
Pierce
good movie.
Brosnan is like,
Oh my god.
Wait, is that who it is? Oh, it is Pierce Brosnan.
yeah.
You're right. You're right. Sorry.
Moving on.
Like Kevin Bacon is trash.
No, he is
Pierce
not.
Brosnan.
All right.
No,
all right.
Kevin Bacon is
All right,
so
ladies.
beautiful.
Ladies, we're not going there.
Kevin Bacon is a god.
CNN began broadcasting
She was
June
in
1,
Mrs. Doubtfire.
1980.
Kevin Bacon was in Tremors.
But Pierce Brosnan was in Mrs.
John
Doubtfire.
Lennon was shot.
We have devolved.
I'm not laughing at John Lennon. Former Beatle John Lennon. Laura's on the ground, rolling with laughter.
No, I'm laughing at Brianna, not at John Lennon. Oh, poor John Lennon.
Things that were invented. The Post-it note.
Oh, that's cool.
By like Romy as in Romy and Michelle?
What?
Oh, you're so young.
You're way too young for that.
Oh my god,
I'm
you
almost too young
guys.
for that.
Oh. Have you ever seen the movie Romy and Michelle's High School Reunion?
No.
Oh my god, get the hell out of here. She invented the Post-it note.
I'm sorry.
She said it at her 10-year high school reunion. Phoebe Buffay. What's her name? What's her actual name? Oh my god, I know her name. Lisa Kudrow. She was in that movie. So good.
Well, the Post-it note was actually invented by Arthur Fry and Spencer Silver.
All right, you don't get it. I'm so old.
Yeah, you are.
Oh, okay.
The Rubik's Cube debuted as well. It was invented years before, but it debuted.
That's
in
exciting.
I know how to solve it.
Matthew,
Are you good at it? I'm not good at
I'm
it.
not. I have to memorize
The thing?
the
yeah.
pattern, and then I can do it.
I'm
but,
so bad
yeah.
at solving Rubik's Cubes.
Yeah.
Don't read into it.
It just takes.
I can't
It
do
takes a while. You just
Yeah.
have to like. I can do it if I practice it, but if I don't practice it,
I've just never
Yeah.
tried. Because, like, why
No, you
the
just have to
fork
follow
would
this-
I want to do that?
because you're
It's-
cool.
Yeah. Because it's really cool. All right, let's get into some popular films other than this one, obviously.
Obviously.
So we had Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back.
Nice.
I'm not a big Star Wars person. But
I like the
some
old.
people
I like the old Star
liked
Wars.
that one or didn't like it. I don't
Yeah.
know. Superman 2, starring someone, I'm sure. 9 to 5.
Oh, my
Oh,
god, I
9
love
to
that
5.
movie.
I bet. Tell me you've seen
I
that.
haven't.
With
It's
Dolly
Dolly
No, it is. It's on my list. I know I need to watch it. I
Oh
have
my
not
gosh.
watched it.
I watched it not that long ago. It is such a good movie.
Can we just extend our trip so we can watch more
Okay.
movies?
Yeah.
Like,
Anyway, popular music at the time was Blondie with "Call Me,"
Okay.
Nice.
Olivia Newton-John with "Magic,"
Oh.
Queen with "Another One Bites the Dust,"
Another One Bites the Dust.
and Diana Ross with "Upside Down."
Nice.
Upside down, boy, turn me. Okay, I
Okay,
gotta
don't
stop
sing
singing.
anymore because we can't.
I
pay,
can't.
We can't pay those royalty
I
fees.
know.
Yeah, we
I know.
didn't pay for that
Yeah.
trademark,
I just
so
said, boy, turn me. That's all I said.
And that's it. That's everything that happened.
love.
All right, perfect.
And there's more. I just didn't get
No,
to it.
just don't. Just we
All
don't- we
right.
just talk
No,
about
I
it.
love it. All right. So here on Spooky Sips, we get drunk.
Yes.
No, that wasn't
We
what I
did
was gonna
tonight.
say.
Well, no, we do that as well.
Okay, here on Spooky Sips, we don't give stars, we give sips. So, ladies, out of 5 sips, how many would you give this movie?
Honestly, this is so hard because I think seeing it in theater with a packed room full of
Mhm.
people who you could tell really loved this
Mhm,
movie
mhm.
is absolutely going to affect this score.
Agreed.
So like I'm just gonna say that now.
Agreed.
It's like I'm trying to I'm trying to
Yeah, we
think
need
of
a
what my score-
disclaimer maybe on
Yeah.
this episode.
Mhm.
Yes.
So I agree. And so I also want to take the historical context of this movie.
Mhm.
But I want to count that because
Mhm.
this movie is from 1980.
Right.
Yes.
And people still pack a movie theater
Mhm.
in a city to come see this.
Yep.
We actually saw this on Saturday the 14th
Yeah.
Right.
because we couldn't get tickets to Friday the 13th.
And we had to sit in the second row because it was full.
Yeah, so I feel like this movie stands the test of time.
Agreed.
Mhm.
I had seen this movie and forgot about it, forgot about most of it, but I feel like the reactions from the crowd all matched my reaction, which means it gets to a certain part
Yep.
of you that really is universally understood.
Mhm, mhm.
So I think for me, there's parts of it that are not like the most scary, the most like tolerable or whatever. But like, I'm gonna go with a solid 3.5 stars.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I'm going with solid 3.5.
3.5.
I was gonna go for just 3, but because I enjoyed it so much in that theater, I'm going 3.5.
Okay, I feel like, I think this is where it comes to personal taste, which I think is so much of horror movies.
Mhm.
Uh-huh.
I think for this one, and I was giving the disclaimer because to me it's really high. So like, I think I'm gonna go with a 4
Okay.
because
Do it.
I really liked this movie. I'm a big fan of horror movies, but I don't like to be completely disturbed personally.
Oh, I like to be
And
completely disturbed.
This one was a good balance of actually scary. If you don't like horror movies, you should watch it. There's actual gore and the effects are really good. But it has like comedic elements. It's super 80s.
It was so funny.
It gets early 80s. It was so fun. Like I really enjoyed it because it was my style, and I think going to see it in theaters made it more fun. So for me, it's a 4.
Mhm.
Solid.
Mhm.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah, so I think for me, like, I have 2 different type of horror movies that
Yes.
I love.
Mhm.
Okay? I love the really, like, actually dark
Mhm.
and disturbing ones that, like, upset you because of how, like, they get into your psyche
Yeah.
and, like,
Mhm.
fuck you up.
Mhm.
I love those.
Yes.
And then I love slasher horror.
Yeah.
Those are my 2 that I really genuinely love.
Mhm.
And to me, I think if I had to say, like, this is it. This is the quintessential slasher movie.
It's
so
such a good
good.
slasher. It's such
so
a good
for
slasher.
me, it is a 4.
Yeah,
That's
what I'm
going with.
So good.
Because, like, it is everything I
Mhm.
want out of a slasher movie.
Mhm.
And it did it so well.
It did.
And I would recommend this one genuinely to, like, any
Yeah.
and everyone.
Mhm.
So, yeah, it's a 4 for me.
Yeah.
Also, Kevin Bacon, you're amazing. We love you.
Yes.
And Pierce Brosnan, if you're listening.
Not in this, but still.
Kevin Bacon, we love you so much. You were so good in this movie.
Okay, so next time on Spooky Sips, it's a big holiday for all of us.
Yes,
Oh my
it is.
It's
gosh.
Halloween. So we will be doing Beetlejuice. And the reason for that is because we are dressing up as Beetlejuice.
Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice.
Here on Spooky Sips, we as a family, Halloween's a big deal. And
Oh,
we do themed
yep.
costumes
Happy smoke time of the year.
every year.
Yeah, we do.
So this year we decided to go big. We're doing Beetlejuice.
Oh my gosh.
So that'll be the movie that we're doing to get us prepared for it. You
Mhm.
will not want to miss that episode.
Mhm.
No.
It's going to be great.
Classic.
Classic.
Yes.
So get watching and get sipping. And we'll see you next time on Spooky Sips.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you for listening to Spooky Sips. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe wherever you're listening. To stay up to date on all the spooky things we're up to, follow us on Facebook and Instagram at SpookySips_podcast. And if you want to help support the podcast, consider buying us a coffee, or really a cocktail. We are completely independent, so every little bit goes a long way to keeping our podcast running and improving. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.